and welcome to episode 231 of the FReality Podcast. We've got a nice little spin-up of news for you today, and right for your ears. It's August already, so spray your cars, fellow Canadians. Get that Halloween outfit ordered, and get your wish lists off to old Santa Claus. 2024 isn't far off, so you can't be falling behind on your VR gaming. I'm sure you've got something you've been neglecting, so get to it if you've not been on that already. And tell us in chat what you've been up to in our favorite world, not reality, fake reality. Today, here's some nibbles for your squibbles. Like Kirk said Khan, somebody said the F word. Our VR professionals show you how to exercise in Los Santos. There's also a new headset for work by Ray Charles. And Adam spouts about her augmented reality lifestyle. Is it all glitz and glam? After that, Jose is conducting the release train to give you something to toot about. And with that, and the show ahead of us, onto my esteemed co-hosts. You've had enough of Is It Cake? So how about Is It Bush? This living plant is also our champion globetrotter, sampling Belgian frites, London chips, and soon back home to our Canadian poutine. Voila, it's our man of the lab coat loincloth, son to proud parents, Gowdy and Rhonda. It's Rowdy. Hey, Rowdy.
Hey, yeah, I'm currently again in another country. I want to say another city, but it's even worse. It's again another country. I'm spending a week still in London before I'm going back all over to Canada, to the land of maple syrup for sure. But yeah, I know I've been great. I've had a wonderful time in Belgium. It's been a while, actually. It was like about like an hour, I think 2.5 years now that I've actually spent some good time there. So it was actually nice to be back. And that was kind of like funny as well that the time that I was back, apparently we had the worst amount of rainfall in 1 month. So the entire month that I was there, apparently. Since 35 years.
Wow. So just pissing it down in Belgium the whole time you were there?
Yeah, like just the entire time. I barely went outside. It was just raining. Like, I mean, I did go to the Belgian coast with my parents for one day because we were like, we're going to have to do something. And it's like, it's just a train ride. And I like trains. I'm the kind of person, I love sitting in trains. I love those like international train rides as well, where you can just like, I don't know, the Oriental Express or the Trans-Canadian or like something like that. Like I love that kind of stuff to do. It's very expensive, but there's definitely on my bucket list, all of them. And then we just took a very small version of that to go to the Belgian coast. It was storming outside. It was wind everywhere. We like those pictures where people like try and like walk through the wind. Okay. And their hair is all like messed up and like their coat is going everywhere. That was basically us at the Belgian coast for like 2 days. Yeah, that was pretty good. Pretty good.
Curiosity, have you ever played Derail Valley? This is a VR train simulator. You played that years ago? Yeah.
I remember me trying to get run over by a train. That's the only part that I remember of that game.
Of course.
It's like I wanted to know if it worked. It didn't really. It just went through.
They brought in like weather systems like lightning and stuff like that.
Oh, really?
Derail. Yeah, the game is like, it's awesome now. Like they've updated it since you originally played it.
It was cool that it was like both like God mode and first person mode.
Yeah,
right?
Train conduction simulator, and you can kind of go outside. Yeah, but fantastic. Easily the best train sim. So I was like, oh, that's maybe the thing. But then real life, would you take like the Trans-Siberian, across Russia or something, or is that too far afield for you?
No, I don't think anything is too far, but I do want then comfort. I'm not going to, with a backpack, on a little train, little thing. No, if I do that, I want like the full experience. I want to, those like very old school trains. Like they had a really cool one in Return to Castle Wolfenstein where you had that train scene. I don't know if you remember if you played that game.
Yeah, I had the steelbook for that game, but I don't remember it. Half-Life Alyx just pushed that scene out of my brain. All I can remember is the fucking hobo car in Alyx now when I think of trains and games.
Yeah. No, I love trains that have a little bit of character. Yeah, for sure. But I do want that full experience. You know, I looked up the prices of those train rides, and they were like $12,000 to $15,000 for like a single person ticket, which is
Jeez.
quite expensive. I mean, it's not unattainable, but still, it's
Yeah.
quite expensive.
Not cheap. Not cheap. Well, that's good. Well, you're certainly following the name of Globetrotter. Anyway, Rowdy, it'll be good to have you back home in your Canadian nest at
Hell
some
yeah.
point soon. You know, glad to have it. And
Hopefully next time.
lovely highlight from your beach experience. Having lived in Scotland, I know exactly what that was like. So, you know, that used to be every beach holiday. So
Exactly.
but it's nice you're finally on your way home and get yourself nestled back in and get all your tech deployed.
For sure.
It'll feel good.
Yeah.
Feel good. Excellent. Well, that's Rowdy, ladies and gentlemen. Temporary Rowdy, and no finer ship captain that you'll find than this one, who's been chasing storms every podcast. She sets sail into the headwinds of broadcasting, bloody red hair whipping back in the salty winds, searching for what, you ask? Searching for loot chests, of course. Polly want a cracker? Yarr. Well, here she is. It's Adam Bombody.
Not a white joke. I'm just kidding.
Slipped it in
Sorry,
there. Slipped it in there.
It's been a fun week. I actually did try a couple of things in VR. Well, the first thing was we had some coworkers from Live visit in LA for Sipograph. I don't know how to pronounce. It's a long acronym. Bunch of tech VR, really nerdy stuff. So I passed on this one because I think it's beyond what I would understand. But anyway, since they were in the LA area, we went to 2-Bit Circus, which is kind of like, it's an arcade, but they have, it's a little more higher tech. And I say higher tech in that like they use Kinects and stuff. So I don't know, it's like, they could probably use an upgrade by now, but they do have VR setups, and some of their games, like I said, they use Kinect type stuff. So one of them was almost like, how do I describe it? It's like an O shape where on the screen you see boxes coming at you, and you have to sort of position your body and your arms and limbs and stuff away from the blocks. And it uses a Kinect to be able to tell where in the location you are. And so they have a bunch of stuff like that, just sprinkled arcade style throughout the floor. But they also had like, the old Ghostbusters, nice. 2015, 2017 experience. So I tried that for the first time just because I guess why not? So could use a little bit of
experience is
updating.
that? Is that a?
Oh, there was a Ghostbusters like VR arcade experience that they made where you just are like, it's I don't even want to call it. It doesn't really use space that much because it's so old. But you're just going in and doing Ghostbustery things. It was very meh. Maybe it would have been more exciting then.
Like.
Yeah, we use Vive headset, Vive controller. Well, I use a controller and a gun, but you can't. There's no free roam, so but it's multiplayer.
Place.
Yeah,
right. Okay.
It's showing its age, but I had never tried it before, so I was like, oh okay, and then I was like, yeah, this is showing its age. But they did have Quest Pros there, and I got to try the game. Was it at GDC the AR game that you tried without me? The egg.
Eggscape?
Yes, Eggscape. Yes, I tried that one with my husband and some coworkers, and that was actually pretty fun. Like, it's a cute little platformer, and so I'm a little sad that we didn't get to play it together because that would have been a good like multiplayer experience. But besides that, I felt just to do good VR reporting, I tried Roblox VR on the Quest, and
did ya?
Rough.
Did you now? Rough, as in lots of dogs? You got to pet the dog in VR? Is that what you're saying?
That would have been nice. That would have been nice, actually. But just the UI is pretty bad. Even finding good maps to try that weren't janky, even the ones that were VR specific, or ones that were recommended, there were just still little weird things about them, or camera angles, or just controls, or UI. I was like, maybe it's because it's newer on Quest, so nobody's really built Quest specific, even though there's been VR, maps already. I don't know. I didn't really have a good. I'm like, we have so much better than this. Why would you downgrade your experience this way? But again,
right, like why wouldn't you go play Rec Room or something like that? Is that what you mean?
Yeah. So I mean, maybe we just need time. More people building.
And this is where I wanted to, have a sword fight a little bit here, Adam, because Roblox, like when I first looked at it, my kids were moving from Minecraft to Roblox because some of their friends were into it. And the first thing I recognized about Roblox, this is Roblox on desktop before even tinkering with VR. And I was like, wow, the user interface is complete garbage. It looks like a mobile app store from 1995. And then kids are playing these games, and the games themselves look kind of trashy or whatever. But that's just the look of it. The thing that I think I realized after some time was a lot of these games are made by teenagers or someone who's 20 or whatever, and it's like a game maker. It's very, very much a kid environment. And what I mean by that is it's like pure chunks of gameplay design in a game that looks pretty garbagey, right? But there's some fun in there that you won't find elsewhere as a result, like whether it be a horror game or something like that. So I think that, and that's the balancing act that Roblox needs to make, is that some of the games, they're there and they reward you as a player to sinking more time into that game. You character levels up, you unlock more pets, whatever the case is. But every game is different. So looking at it with that eye, the VR component, there's only one game really that I've seen that we've tinkered with in this house, and that was VR Hands, I think is what they called it.
It was like
where
Goliath,
there's a
kind of.
Yes. So one, like the VR players have hands, and they're able to pick other non-VR players up, and the other players are the size of ants, and they're able to bring them between platforms and either help or hinder. You can chuck them across the map or smash them or whatever. And so kids have loads of fun with this, having the power of a god amongst a sea of real people, right? And that's kind of the juxtaposition for a kid. So I'm curious, like the VR interface, when you're saying that it's pretty rough, is it rough from the perspective of other VR interfaces? Or even if you were on, like, I'm curious if you've got any experience with the desktop version of Roblox, or
I would
none
say
at all.
Other VR interfaces, because I think on a flat screen that might be okay, some of these, but like you have chat floating over your left eye at all times, and it doesn't seem like there's a way to push it. So no matter where you're walking or turning, there's just a floating chat box that you can't really do anything with anyway, or at least I've never tried to click into it and see if I could type, but then why would I also want to do that if I have a microphone? And then the UI that you use to like exit the map or change settings, you can kind of lower it, but it's sort of, if you're looking anywhere near down, it's always in your field of vision. So it's just like, there's floating boxes everywhere, and I don't like it. I would just want to play the game.
Wow.
And it's just a little annoying like that. And I was super excited because I found out the Primal Hunt guys, they actually have a Roblox map. And sadly, it doesn't seem like it's VR supported, but I will say it's really pretty. It's really, really good for a Roblox map. There was that one, and then another one that was called Tunneler, which is kind of like Portal-like, which I feel like were made by adults probably. But those actually did not look like Roblox games. They were pretty impressive.
Question: were you in, like, is there a capability for 2.5D VR? And what I mean is, like you would have in a headset, or maybe later when we're talking about Rokid, like you're staring at a flat screen, like big screen, the big screen method in Steam VR, where you're able to watch a 2D screen through the headset, but play a Roblox map that's made for desktop, or no? You're talking about just playing those things on a computer screen.
Well, I mean, are you talking about if there's a capability to be able to play the flat screen version in VR?
The one that you just said was really pretty. How did you experience it? Was it in a headset?
In headset, yeah.
Okay, in headset, but you said it wasn't VR enabled?
Oh, well, yeah, Primal Hunt. Well, because the controls, you could play it, but the controls, like, they didn't have 3'd off. So you have a bow in front of you, but it's just shooting. If you're using the triggers, it's just shooting straight ahead. Okay. You have no sense of movement, no control. So it kind of works, but it's not meant to work that way.
2016 VR, essentially. Yeah, back in the day before touch controls and all of that, right?
Yeah, so. But maybe it makes sense, especially for Primal Hunt, because they already have a Quest game, so I don't know if they would want like kind of a free Roblox version. Then what's as much motivation to buy their game? But they did a great job with the Roblox version. I was like, holy crap, I can't believe this is Roblox and it's a free thing. So I would actually go on the desktop and try that one again to have full mouse movement and whatnot. It's really good.
So an interesting start to the dev kit. Bit of rough. Some of the things you described are my personal hell. I hate HUD. A lot of people know that about me. I try to get HUD away from my life as much as possible. So a lot of those things did sound like you'd be, it's like you have warts all over your screen.
Hope you like
it's just
chat
awful.
in your left eye at all times because it's there.
No. Oh, no. Takes me back to that. There was this dinosaur game, Ark Survival Evolved, back in the day, which had the worst graphical experience I've ever had in a VR game. And like, where the actual menu where you control options was illegible. It was so like aliased and small, and just everything was terrible about it. So look, very early days for Roblox. Did you have to sideload this? Was it like a normal install? I believe it's on
App Lab.
App Lab?
Just App Lab.
Yeah.
And then you can't, it's still in beta. So there's some things like you can't make an account in the headset. You have to make an account like on browser, mobile, or PC or whatever, and then link the code in headset to your account. And you can't, I don't know, buy Robux in the, so there's a lot of like stuff that you can't quite do in the beta yet if you wanted to do these things. But
Did you buy any Robux?
I did not. There was one map that was recommended, but it cost Robux, and I was like, I don't want to do the conversion and
Only got V-Bucks, right? Yeah.
Only got V-Bucks.
it's too many bucks. No.
Just curious. That's a slippery slope. For any parent out there, you'll understand. Some Statica in chat had said that you can turn the chat off, but it speaks to how bad that the UI is, that it's not intuitive, which is good. So that's good. You're able to turn it off. But also, again, because this is essentially cross-play, you're playing with desktop players and mixed, I'd assume a very small population of VR players at this time. It's going to be an interesting time for maturity in that app. Thanks for talking us through. Where do you stand on it then, coming out of the experiences you did have, Adam? Is it something people should check out, or it's a train crash that's not even worth looking at right now?
I think it needs time. I think some of the single player experiences are interesting, but like some of the other ones I tried, because it's like server based, I couldn't even connect to a server or find people to play with. And these were the VR specific maps. So like there was a Gorilla Tag clone that I tried, and there was one server open with 2 people, and as soon as I joined, they left. so it was rough. So I think it just needs a little bit more time, people to make maps that are maybe meant more for Quest and Quest controllers, and for more people just be using it or using the VR specific stuff. I don't know.
Or maybe it's like Ark Survival Evolved VR, and it just deserves to die.
That's right, Rowdy. Absolutely. Put a nail in it. Thanks, Adam, for that. It's good. I'm glad you're taking one for the team and checking that out. I did not feel so enthused myself. Well, this guy, he's back from the Rangers game, sobered up and ready to face reality. Oh no, but do I see a blue screen of death? Fear not. The Reboot Imagine team are here, whipping out OS kernel refreshers, Zam Tinglets and Pamboozles, Wazzlers and Shing Clockets. They've got magic ram sticks in their pockets. Head of the circuit board circus, center stage, out the ringleader steps. It's Jose, the VR tech.
Yo, what's up, you
Good to have
guys? I'm so happy to be back. And so, unfortunately, I'm still in California. Adam, I didn't want to interrupt you, but yeah, SIGGRAPH was happening up, which was like the nerds gathering, you know what I mean? Very active last week here in the West Coast for me. So a lot of meetings, a lot of conversations, a lot of hype. I also got to use Roblox, and Adam's review on the experience of it all, honestly, was spot on. The only thing I wanted to add on the whole Roblox thing is, I'm a nerd, that the conversations that are happening behind the scenes, right? A lot of technical conversations, implementations that Roblox is bringing on. And we're talking about a whole new world of conversations that are happening behind the scenes, right? Like, they're scary because we usually have them as like we talk about them from a nefarious, scary way, but there's also the side of the cool cold-hearted nerds, right? Who are the actual ones that are doing these technologies, who are doing it with really cool and honestly kind intentions, right? Where they're talking about the realities are that you can see and know age demographic in VR. You can know ethnicities in VR. There's going to be a lot of analytics that are scary, but we're going to enter an era of confident parental controls, right? That's the cool part of it all. Like we always often talk about experiences that kids can't have. or shouldn't be having early on or be exposed to. And we're going to actually now find ways and mechanisms to actually really build those safe environments. And in Roblox, yeah, VR hands, that's honestly the experience I spent the most, and having conversations and hearing people interact. We're seeing the beginning of social tools, right? And that's those are the conversations that I was having at SIGGRAPH, right? Where these developers were talking about partnering with content creators, because God Hands, it's a game where you're actually interacting with them, right? The idea, we Resident Evil 7, and not to be crass, right? But the big lady, everybody was like, oh, I want to be stopped by that giant lady in the game, and all that stuff. That's also happening with content creators, right? So now they really are going to their favorite content creator and letting them be squashed like a bug, right? That's a level of interaction that we've never seen in video games before, and it's so exciting. And SIGGRAPH was kind of like the I use it as a little like light in the darkest of tunnels, right? Because there's so much stuff happening in our industry that you kind of have to like talk to the engineers, and that for me has been such a I don't know, like a breath of fresh air for me, right? Especially in a long month working and building, you often forget what an engineer is, right? And in a world where developers have taken over, that there's so many amazing tools to build stuff, we often forget who are the god makers, right? Who are the ones who are building the actual platforms that developers come in and run. And I am so amped and excited for this industry. And I was doing everything in my power to just come and talk to you guys. I was like, I must delay my flight. Anything possible that I can do to get on the call with you guys and share this energy with you guys.
Well, we like it.
Nice.
We've missed it, Jose, for sure. There's an energy you bring that is very tangible, very tangible. And for those wondering, he's definitely on a shoestring and a tin can today. So if we happen to lose Jose mid-show, he's got a flight this evening out away from California. So bye-bye, California.
This is my internet connection. This is my internet line right here. So this breaks. Yeah, let me stop messing with it.
So keep in that same position, like, so you don't lose a signal.
This is
it's not even plugged
right here,
in.
so I'm keeping the latency.
Well, it's definitely good having you back. So is it just a coincidence that that a bit of Roblox is also what you wanted to highlight, or was there anything else from it's been
honestly
a while?
It's just the engineering feat. I'm just this week is all about the engineers just building stuff, the creators. The Roblox is a mess, right? And the reason that I wanted to add on to it is because we're seeing the engine and the wheels being built for the cars, right? And now we're going to see really cool custom vehicles being built around that concept. You mentioned the Green Hell game with the 3DOF. The reason that that's happening is because they're building skeletal games for the body mechanics that are being built for VR that are going to be shared across experiences. And we can probably talk about that a little later on the topics, but we're starting to see announcements of independent body tracking that's outside of the game. So it's essentially like a skeletal system. We saw a kind of an iteration of that with I can't believe I'm forgetting the name right now, and I feel terrible for it. It's a big VR game, but you can do custom avatars, and they have different body sizes for specific uses. I forgot the name of the game.
Yeah, I know what you're talking about.
Bone Lab?
Bone Lab, yes, Boneworks. So Boneworks kind of implemented something similar to that, where there's going to be different body sizes, and based on that, there's going to be different mechanics and different feats that come associated with that. There's going to be independent body sizes for VR games that kind of like just retrofit that, and that's what kind of Roblox is betting on. That eventually that universal avatar archetype just comes in, and now you can move the ball around and takes over the 3DOF.
I hope that the Roblox avatar does not supersede. I know you're talking more about the metaphoric foundation of avatar creation and control, but the Roblox avatar, for those who haven't seen it, is about if someone said, go into Unity and in 60 seconds build me an avatar. Like that's what the avatar looks like. It's just a cube person. And it's like if someone flashed the that embarrassing tweet from Zuckerberg from about, I don't know, 3/4 of a year ago now with the Parisian statue in the back of the Eiffel Tower, and he had that horrible looking face and everyone's like in the VR industry is like embarrassed. That looks good compared to a Roblox avatar. So I just hope that the future for us does have, and we talked about this when we were talking about VRTO, some interchangeability between platforms. You know, in Roblox, I look a certain way, I look something else. It's like putting on your denims, to go out with your buddies in the suit when you're working, that type of thing, right? So I'd love to see that interoperability between platforms come. But I'm quite excited about Roblox more formally stepping forward into this space. And like you said, it is about the engineering and the platform building. But you mentioned something there about a custom car. What was that about?
Yeah, no, I truly believe the conversations that I was having this week, you see the building blocks of people who pay attention to the internet, right? A lot of things, one of the biggest important pillars of the internet is indexing. Google's search indexer is one of the most important things for internet adoption, for platform adoption, for growth, and all that stuff. And that's what Roblox is introducing. A lot of people don't realize is that Roblox implemented the first iteration that I know of real ads on virtual worlds, like the one that Meta tried to talk about, where they were talking about billboard ads in the virtual world. That was implemented by Roblox way before Meta started getting involved in the conversation. They already have the APIs, the integrations, the world. This is a strategic partnership. We're seeing
Is that something that's still active,
the
Jose?
assets.
I haven't seen it myself firsthand. I'm not a Roblox player myself. I mean, my kids are, but is that something that's still installed kind of in the game? And do you know, is it an active revenue stream for Roblox?
The revenue stream, this partnership with Meta is what's going to enable that. It's all based on server and the way that servers work. And I don't want to get too technical, but you got to pay the piper, right? So if you're an Amazon company, then you have to pay the Amazon servers. If you're running interoperability or server communications, then you have to pay for those lanes, right? So partnering with Meta that has their own server environments, their own server lanes, they're building ad sets. They're building the ability to Roblox on their new developers page. I'll post a link on the podcast afterwards. But there is actually developer information about their ad pipelines for shared experiences, how it's going to work. They also have a lot of data around it. Like, hey, they're working about the page is really insane, but they talk about like distance between the eye and the ad, how long the gaze was looking at that ad, interactions, conversations that are triggered because they're looking at that ad. All of that data is being used. Roblox has been building this for a very long time. Remember, before V-Bucks, there was Roblox. You know what I mean? There's a lot of high money and mechanisms
This
at play
sounds
here
like a few years ago when Meta launched the VR advertisement, and everyone was like, "No, thank you," and they backed off of it.
You're doing that. That's Roblox engine, right? You just said it yourself. How can a giant game and platform has such a lame and bad interface? Because all of the money in development and engineering is going behind the scenes. It's going into interoperability. It's going into the mechanics, the way the servers communicate. We're about to see within the next, based on the conversations that I'm having, the next 6 months, it's going to be all about, I hate saying it, but people are going to hate me for this, but it's going to be all about the metaverse.
Yeah, I just want to clarify one thing there, though. And I'll relate this to a very UK thing. There's a supermarket in the UK called Tesco, and Tesco have a branding, a very kind of explicit branding approach to their premier products and their basic line products. It's very similar to like Amazon Basics, if I was to go to that, right? Stuff that looks cheap and is cheap. It's affordable, right? And so I feel like Roblox and their whole veneer is similar to that. It's not complicated. It's relatively easy to get into. It's easy to build for. Again, with relative ease, you need to know what you're doing still. But I think it really sits well, particularly for younger, preteens and then aging up right through the kind of early to mid 20s. And I think that audience is great because loads of hours, lots of time. If we can get the hooks in there and that helps to pull VR up, then it's a matter of then just aging with that population, because that population will be tomorrow's software engineers, will be tomorrow's architects, right, who build us there. And so all you really need is to ride this wave of, and it doesn't take very long, kids become adults very quickly. That 10-year-old is a 20-year-old in only 10 years. So, and that's where I feel like we are right now with VR. And that's what this bet, this gamble, this foundation means to me. Seeing it as it stands. And then you end up with somebody like the creator of Vertigo, right, running games or game studios and producing more. And then you have, competitor to Valve or something springing up, because to be honest, some of the studios out there have served their time. And to quote Rowdy, maybe it's time for them to pass on and die, whether that be a Valve or a Blizzard or something else, like those studios are there.
Everyone dies. Everyone dies.
What a cheery podcast. Ads and death. We've started off down the right side. Well, that's the intro's nearly done. Chat, thanks for tuning in. Big thanks for coming to watch us live. If my cohorts don't get to your messages today, they'll keep their eyes on chat while we're going. But don't worry, if they manage to miss you, I will have them incinerated. It's my specialty. My name is Zim, and I like long podcasts and short walks on the beach. And my highlight this week is Tea for God. So speaking about long walks, I put several kilometers into this lovely game. It's a game you can now get on Quest or on Steam VR and cast it to your headset if you've got a nice little wireless setup going. It's a game that puts you in a Dune-like universe, heading off to kill the God Emperor. So you're kind of like an assassin dude who's, cog in the machine who wants to take the machine down. It's also got, and I got to highlight this, it's got stick locomotion. So those of you with teeny tiny townhouses don't have to sit this one out. You can actually play this as well, which previous games that have been primarily location-based experiences that require quite a bit of room have counted you out. Things like Space Pirate Arena, for example, which got all kinds of feedback in the Fountain of Hate when that first launched as a free update. And I still can't believe how poorly we treated iLlusions, the collective we. But yeah, if you've got a field or a parking lot that you can pawn off at dusk, then Tea for God is an unmissable roguelike gameplay. You get to befriend some robots, pick up perks along the way, and just enjoy the freedom to roam in a non-Euclidean environment. Folding space, procedural levels, very quickly, and unlike most other VR games where you kind of maintain a sense of your orientation and space in that environment because you're not turning and twisting too much. This is a bit like, where you're readying for a piñata and they put the mask on your eyes and they spin you in place and then they have you run at the piñata with a baseball bat, but accidentally you're hitting grandma and candy is still coming out. So that's Tea for God. I went like 7 hours into this last weekend and it was fantastic. Your weapons are upgradable like Borderlands style. So you're dropping some out and picking up new ones and comparing stats and all that kind of stuff. It's really a thrill to get lost in. And for those who like hardcore experiences where like you die with one life, that's what I tried. My longest life was about 2 hours and 40 minutes, which was pretty long and about, I think, 3 kilometers walked in physical terms, just meandering all around my space. And I would say it's like equivalent to a very well-lit Cosmodread. So if you like what Cosmodread does and that it gives you a space station to explore, Tea for God does that with a bunch of different environments. And as you get past what I'll call the demo area, which is the rooms that are connected, enemies, guns, you end up in a place that feels a lot like Eye of the Temple, where you're traversing, you're moving around your room, you're getting down on your knees. I was even rolling around trying to avoid like electricity that was not behaving. Scientist Rowdy will say electricity doesn't just like jet out, sit there like a hard piece of rebar, but the game takes some of these things for granted. And yeah, it was really, really good. It's shocking in places. You have, these pods that thunder down from the sky and robots pop out of them and they try to kill you. And you've got to be pretty quick and quick-witted to kind of survive through all of this. But the biggest perk I'd say out of all of it was highlighted to me when I showed the game off to a friend of the family who normally is the kind of like, and we all probably have this friend who's like the 10-minute demo person, right? Like, I mean, this fella got sick even in PSVR 2 sitting on the couch, right? Like I'll try it, but probably not for me. This fella is actually an Index owner and user, but again, I would say kind of light on the hours in VR. And put him into T for God, and man, he ran it until the Quest battery died. Like, he just kept going, and he's like, this is the best shit ever. So anytime you get to introduce another person to a new experience, have them be entirely comfortable in it, have them be enthralled by it, and come out of it saying, oh yeah, I'm definitely buying a Quest 3, that's just like a win for me, because it's that enthusiasm, kind of like Jose, right? It's the bottle of fireflies. And anytime I feel that with VR, it's just like a special moment for me. So that was my particular highlight. Have any of you ever tried T for God? Like, there's a demo that's been free. It's been out for a while. I'd recommend you try it.
I just got to find the space.
Even tried it in a small space. Are you claustrophobic? Would be my only question.
No. Why?
Okay. As long as because in a small space, even in a smallish room, it can do it. Like a long rectangle, or take a hallway or something. It can do it, but like you'll step into a lift, an elevator, that it feels like it's your coffin, like it's super, super tight, and like bars are closing in on you and all this kind of stuff. So if you're claustrophobic, then limited space T for God probably isn't for you. But the cool thing is, and I found this out playing the game, you can play it in a 20 meter by 20 meter space, which is crazy. So I've got to go and play it outside somewhere, because I feckin' don't have that much space at home. But that's a must buy for me. And I think the fact that they added joystick locomotion is great, because if you're sitting in a small your kitchen somewhere in the middle of the Netherlands or something, small space to live and all that, you can still enjoy it. And it's got these like huge open areas and some really cool moving parts. I mean, I think last week I was talking about going to zero latency and having like a lift, for example, that was taking you up an elevation.
Yeah. I love when the arcade places do that. It's so cool.
This does that all over the place. And as you move from level 1 to the next levels in the game, it does a lot of that. So if you played through the original demo a lot, like I did, and you got sick of it, still try T for God. It brings a whole circus of surprises, which is very unlike, I would say, Eye of the Temple. I think spoiled itself.
Does it?
With the demo. The demo was like enough of a taster.
Yeah. Does the movement then work kind of like Eye of the Temple, where because in Eye of the Temple you feel like you're going places, but you're actually just kind of going in a square, sort of like within your play space, like, but you don't feel like it?
Yeah, that's right.
Is that
so? Here I was able in a large basement to get a 4x3 grid, so you're stepping from grid spot to grid spot, but it doesn't feel as grid centered as Eye of the Temple. So for example, you'll have hallways that are like a snake, for example, that you're walking down, and so very quickly you lose your orientation of where you are in your room, and it's one of the best parts about the game. But I think when you first step around a corner and you realize you look into a room that's not there, right? And then you step into that space, and then you're taking forks off of this place, and it's got a really smart system where on the frame of every door there's a little indicator that's blinking, and it says where certain alien symbols are, and you have to learn what those symbols mean, and they kind of they change when you go to them. No. So that's what I'm saying. It resolves as you learn it in the game. So you don't have to remember it in your human brain. Your human gray matter is safe, Adam, because I'm like you. I have a very short memory. But then it will point you. It'll say, so walk through this door if you want to go north, or walk through that door if you want to go south or east. And so it's very easy to locate yourself. And as you explore the map, you come across points which allow you to expand on your map data, so you can get the bearings of where you are, know where you're going, pick a direction, and then very much like in Half-Life Alyx, you're heading for the Citadel. You're heading for the kind of big tower. And how you get there is really neat as you get closer and closer. As I said, I've only gotten even maybe a third through the game.
I gotta try this.
But the robots, the only thing that I would say about the game before you go in, just to be careful of, it's incredibly phallic. There are
Good.
penis-shaped objects is everywhere. I don't know why. I asked the developer. I was like, was this intentional? Is this supposed to be like
Adam is like, that's a plus.
Yeah,
what are you talking about?
bring it on.
Oh my lord. Yeah.
The developer's like, what? What are you talking
More the
about?
Everything from stroking the little male dogs on their parts underneath to make him your friend, to sucking down on the shield that has a penis-looking thing that you're
I think
guzzling.
you played a different version. Like if you play this now, you forgot.
I think Sam just interacts with scenes differently than all of us.
It's like,
It's so
you know
bad. They're everywhere.
That South Park episode where they have that bike.
Oh, God.
That's pretty much Zim.
Yeah, that's me. That's just me every weekend. That's it. I'm just a closet. I'm a closet gamer of two varieties. But yeah, T for God, you got to check it out. Definitely check it out. It's a fantastic game. Very unique.
I love that you mentioned the centering mechanic for the mapping orientation. I feel so bad because I don't remember the name, but I remember seeing a GDC talk about that specific mechanic, and the way they compare it is, I don't know if any of you guys played Little League baseball, but like I remember there was like a training thing that they would do to see how dizzy a kid could get with they would put like the forehead on the ball and spin around to get dizzy. That's essentially what they're doing to you in the VR headset. They're the first. I think there's like a certain amount of time. I think it's like 2 minutes over a span of time. They figured out how to like have somebody completely lose their sense of like orientation by just making them do very specific movements.
Yeah.
You can actually make a person in a like 2.5 feet radius feel like they're like in a large coliseum and actually suspend their mind by doing that.
That's the part about this game which I love, because it's supposed to feel grand, and from its very opening, you feel like I mentioned Dune the film or book, right? Like it feels like that, just like seas of sand, and then technology in the middle that's very much like when you see in the early Star Wars, there's this Jawa collector ship, and you basically board one of these things and it almost looks like a Borg vessel. So I'm dropping all the nerd terms here specifically to act as a honeypot to grab the nerds and herald them into this experience. But it's great. And yeah, 5% bonus if you're gay. You'll love it. It's fantastic. Oh my God, dicks everywhere. But other than that, it's great having friendly robots and enemy robots, and there's a bit of an exciting part to it as well. Like death is just around the corner, so you got to fight for your life, and that's very exciting. So in places that even felt like to me like Subnautica, where you're gripping onto life, only barely surviving, getting to the next part, and very strategically picking your upgrades as you go along the path. So you don't feel powerless. You very much feel empowered by your decision making as you move through the world. And then it feels a little FTL in that sometimes that RNG god just shafts you hard. So we'll leave that at that. That was Zim's highlight of the week. Thank you, chat, for all of the lovely messages telling me to go see a therapist. All right. Sounds good. We'll let's get right on to that.
They're brilliant.
So, onto the newsreel. So, the first thing up, you guys know I love reading VR news stories all over the web, including Reddit, right? Reddit is my hotspot, or my hotpot for this kind of thing. So imagine my frame of mind when I read this title last week. Just imagine what the author meant, okay? So they said, this is the title of the Reddit post. I'm scared and don't know what to do. I think VR may have ruined my life. Okay? I'll read that again. I'm scared and don't know what to do. I think VR may have ruined my life. So before I go into it,
similar game as what you did earlier.
Slightly traumatized.
Changed him, huh? Changed him. So Rowdy thinks this user had a particular life-changing moment, this realization, perhaps. Adam, Jose, what do you think this person meant?
I can't comment. I already saw it on my email list, so I know what this is about.
Okay. Jose, give it a guess.
I think it's dope. I'm thinking maybe something with dopamine. Like they just dopamine addiction. I'm guessing the VR enabled.
Yeah, see, I thought it was going to be around that line. I thought it was going to be like, I've got too much of a high from this. It's like a positive story. It wasn't really. Okay, so I'm going to give you a little update from them before I go through the text of the article. This is what they said, and this cues a big gulp from Zim. I'm 26, and the one game I played the most was Skyrim VR. So with that as the background setting, let's go into the tale. I'm going to tell you the whole thing. A couple of paragraphs, but here we go. Today I want to share something that's been haunting me for a while, and I could really use your help. It's a deeply disturbing situation that's been affecting my life, and I don't know what to do. A few years ago, I was introduced to VR. Like many on this sub, I was excited about the potential for thrilling experiences and games. Little did I know that my journey into VR would lead me down an unexpected and distressing path. After some time using VR regularly, I began to notice a disturbing change in myself. Even when I take off the headset, I feel this eerie disconnection from reality. It's like I'm stuck in this perpetual state of disassociation, where I can't fully grasp what's real and what's not. It's unsettling to say the least. I've tried everything I could think of to remedy this situation. I've taken breaks from VR, tried to engage in other activities, and looked for some comfort in the company of loved ones. Yet, this disassociation just won't go away. It's like I'm trapped in my own mind, struggling to find my way back to a sense of normalcy. It's been half a year now without me touching VR. I avoid it at all costs, and even conversations or news about this tech give me the chills. I also started therapy and I'm taking medication, but it doesn't seem to help much. I know that many people enjoy it without any issue, but for me, it's become a source of anxiety and confusion. I tried looking for posts about this and found a few, so I know I'm not alone in this, and I would concur. So I'm reaching out to you all in the hope that there might be someone out there who have experience with similar or knows someone who has, and what have they done to make it better? Thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking time to read this and for any support you can provide. So that's it, lads and lass. We've got disassociation from VR. And before I keep going on what Reddit thought, because Reddit often saves the day on these kinds of things, sweeping in with a helpful comment or two, or the opposite, both of which are greatly entertaining and educational. What are your thoughts on this? Have you run across anybody who's had the same thing where, VR has caused them for some kind of semi-permanent or permanent real-world experience? Any of you had that?
Not to the extent where they're like taking therapy and medication. Maybe briefly, like, when you're first really discovering VR and you're just so into it and, the time flies by and then you take it off and you get that kind of like sad, almost depressed feeling of like, oh, back to reality. Like you realize the lights are off on your house because you've been in the headset for so long. But I would say, I don't know, that's about as close as I've ever gotten.
But
like
did
nothing even close.
Yeah. Did this person like have that though? Like that they were like really into the tech for like that period or not?
Yeah, so they went into it. There are a few comments from him later on. He didn't say how heavy, how fast he went into it, so don't know about that. And
typically, what I would think is that it's not particularly to do with like VR specifically, because this could have happened if he was interested maybe in another tech or another kind of, I don't know.
Trains.
Yeah, trains, for example, like building model trains or whatever, or gaming, like people who go really into, a certain type of game and kind of like lose that touch with reality a little bit. So I don't know. I don't think it's like specifically related to VR. And I also don't know, maybe you'll tell that later, if he has had this kind of experience before with something else, because maybe he's just prone to that kind of thing. And then, having it now in VR, if he didn't discover VR, maybe he would have ended up doing something similar.
Like it's an underlying thing that VR triggered.
See, I understand the disassociation piece. Like I certainly had a piece of this back in 2014, early. Like in the first 6 months of VR, I had something like this. I described it to you, Rowdy, before. The other two might not have heard it. But I was playing VR, and then I would notice something about the focus in the headset at that time. Now that's DK2, so not the highest res headset or whatever. But when I was driving, I would get this like, lack of focus, inability to focus on, let's say, the car right in front of me. Like I couldn't, and that was more of an eye focus thing, but it would happen regularly for a couple of weeks and then it just went away. Like I recovered from whatever that was. But it was a kind of a weird after effect of having put so many hours into VR, and like, it's like my eyes were trying to relax when I wanted them to focus, right? So that's the way I would describe it. What about you, Jose? You've dealt with a lot of people who've been, I'd say new and in the location-based world. Anyone who's claimed to have ill effects after stuff like this or any kind of dissociation? Yeah. Hold there 1 second, Jose, just while we're going. Apparently they're saying Jose's muted, no sound from him. It may be related to how we pick up we hear you, but they're not hearing you. So we're just I think it's just hold no. Stay put, Jose. So because we hear you, it will be related to how Adam picks up your audio, and we'll need to maybe pick that up in a slightly different way. So we meant to take Jose off camera for a second, but the audio isn't coming through. So just hold your comments for a second. I'll continue. Adam, see if you can try to engineer a way to pick up his audio, and we'll continue for a moment. So one of the things that Reddit have contributed to this person to try to help them out, which I thought would be interesting just to share here in case anyone runs into this in the future for themselves, was someone says, "It sounds like you're having a very similar dissociation issue to one I had from eating LSD too much. I honestly noticed VR had a similar effect when I first started using it. The good news is you'll feel normal again. Honestly, disassociated episodes aren't an uncommon thing for people in VR or not. A few things I would recommend." And then he goes into a couple of points. The name really checks out here, by the way. Pan the musical goat sounds like somebody who might be on LSD. But in short, the tips were this. Don't hyperfocus because that exacerbates the issue. Strenuous physical exercise helps to kind of bring you back into your body. Do something for a friend helps take your mind off of yourself. And then the final point, which this 26-year-old has already said they're doing already, is consider, some therapy. Which can help. So I thought I would just, as I said, talk about my own tale for a moment there. And with that, maybe we'll try to get Jose's comments again. He was just kind of starting off there when you guys weren't able to hear him.
Okay. I tried refreshing the NDI, so maybe that'll help.
Might do it. All right, Jose, give us a shot. Give us a test. I think he's not there at all.
No, I can't hear him either now.
Okay. Yeah. So Jose, reconnect if you can, and then we'll just start speaking when you're back. Don't worry about cutting me, and we'll go from there. So with that, one of the things that they said we hear him. Oh, we joking? Effective subs.
God damn it.
No, I heard him. Hang on, I heard him. I hear you. Let's just see if chat hears you before we continue. And the reason I wanted to come up with the dissociation thing. Maybe we can see him as well there for a second. We'll see if that works.
I can try to turn his.
Thanks for dealing. Apparently they can't hear him. It says D1360. Okay. Still no sound from Jose. So let's try bringing him back video and audio, Adam, on the original method.
Got video.
All right, Jose, fire away.
All right. Yeah, man. The internet gods are trying to take me out. They're trying to censor me. But yeah, I had a lot to say about this. I mentioned dopamine addiction earlier, but dopamine, usually we think of it as a good thing. It can be a really, really bad thing of when you have too much and consume too much of it. You mentioned Skyrim. Skyrim is a sandbox. There is a infatuation, like all the way down to the core DNA, that we have an obsession with building things and creating things from our own.
Zelda. Sorry.
Yeah, it's from the very beginning. Like, video games have allowed us to have a sense of control and ownership. And now that we have the ability to kind of, create perfect scenarios, how we want to live.
Uh-oh.
Okay.
We were so
might
close.
The internet gods have taken Jose. So with that, maybe I'll...
Now I can't hear Rowdy, but it's me, right?
Yeah, I can't
or
hear...
is it us?
He's muted.
Okay.
He muted himself.
Everybody
I
just
just
stop.
muted myself because I had some noise in the background.
Okay.
I was just saying we have to press F to pay respects.
Yeah, definitely. I think. Yeah, give it a shot, Jose. Again, try.
Is your body and mind really believing that they're in these virtual spaces.
So
Once that gets, yeah, go ahead.
yeah, sorry. Apparently they're getting no sound from you again, Jose. I don't know.
I refreshed it again, so maybe
When your
now,
video's working, the sound is working as well. That's it. So I'll tell you when your face stops, when it freezes or whatever. So you were talking about cognitive hacking, and just replay that again, short and sweet if you can, because we don't know how long it's going to take.
Absolutely. Yeah, no, I said cognitive hacking is actually something that's now being explored quite a bit, and it's ramping up, and it's because we now have the ability to. I'm telling you, I shouldn't be talking about this, guys. They don't want me to talk about this. Human life is valuable. If you if you have the ability to offer something better than it, you lose the ability to find value in the random variables that we have no control over.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
And that's what, yeah.
No, sorry, you can finish your thought. Sorry about that, Jose. You got me.
Cognitive, the value of cognitive value is the fact that there are variables that we can't control. That's what makes life beautiful in a way, right? And when you have the ability to override that specific part of life, then there's no reason to find any value here. It's just the reality we are. It's the same thing with using. You mentioned. I heard you guys talk about LSD consumption. LSD, shuts down and overrides these senses, and too much of it makes your body and your mind go like, "Why go back?" Right? Why would it's not really an addiction. It's more like the double-edged sword of something really good.
Well, I need to nuance here a little, because this is like my field. Like really, like dopamine is indeed involved in the reward center, but it's not the only neurotransmitter that is involved here. And there's some conflicting theories around whether it's actually specifically involved in reward. It is considered sometimes to be a little bit like a pleasure chemical, because it's released at moments where you have high amounts of pleasure. But the thing with drugs is that, for example, when you have something like cocaine, that is, for example, I mean, I don't know exactly how much more potent it is than dopamine itself, but it's enormously, like tenfold or whatever fold times more potent than dopamine itself, and it binds to the same kind of receptors and then induces that kind of like insane rush that you've never felt before, and that is why people get addicted to that. So it's not specifically dopamine itself that is the problem, or even like question really like dopamine. I know you have like high risk seekers, and they might have like some kind of levels where like they seek those dopamine rushes. But I'm not entirely convinced, because dopamine is something that is produced by your own body. It is not something that you take in. You can take things that stimulate dopamine release.
It's not the stimulation. I'm with you 100%. It's not the stimulation itself that becomes addicting. It's the reward. The people, I'm from Miami, right? So think of cocaine itself. The people that get addicted to cocaine, it's wealthy and really hardworking people. And those are usually the ones, and the reason is that they get a reward, a psychological reward, because they're like, I can do 1,000 things because I'm up 72 hours straight, right?
With cocaine, it's the opposite.
Associate
cocaine binds specifically to receptors that then causes that extreme rush. With dopamine, the release of dopamine happens before the receival of the reward. So it's the anticipation of reward. It's the anticipation of reward that often triggers the release. It's that Pavlov's dog kind of example.
And just to kind of, so the reason I wanted to bring this up was there are on occasion stories that you have of people who run into problems with VR, right? And this is one that I thought it's a really interesting kind of edge case. But I have found more than one, just like this, the original poster. I mean, this is not something that's so rare. I haven't seen other people suffer from it, but it's a rare case where people do disassociate from reality having gone into VR. And I think the more that we get, I'll say convincing holodeck experiences, the more that people will turn into up characters, and you're like, hey, I can just, or sorry, Wally characters where you can just disconnect yourself from reality and be like, well, I'm just going to plug in here and I'm just going to stay jacked in, and that's good enough for me. So I wanted to say that with that, as one article, which I'd read in the past week, I ran across a personal problem, and I wanted to apply VR to that problem. So some of you know, the keen of you who've been paying close attention or have seen, know that I've gone through a little bit of a ride myself recently. So first off, I got a nasty venomous spider bite on my foot. The foot swole up. I went on a course of antibiotics. I was worried for sepsis or infection or all these kinds of things. And then just after last weekend, all of a sudden, and I still don't know what caused it, I got full body hives. And it was like very uncomfortable. Having hives everywhere is a problem. I'm going to show you here just to show you because I'm still recovering from it. But here we go. Here's the kind of...
Oh my God.
Gross.
Right? It's literally,
Poison
I mean, my face has recovered, but the rest of me has absolutely not. And I'd love to sing, Johnny Cash's Ring of Fire or something, but there are places that are still itching like crazy, which are a problem. But
you gotta stop playing T for God that way, man. You see what happens? Like, I remember growing up, and I remember being told fable stories like, "Hey, if you play too much, you're gonna get like hair growing on your palms. You're gonna get all
version
itchy."
of that game.
Yeah,
definitely
man.
did.
You went too far. You went too far, man.
yeah,
Is there any herpes?
What happens when you don't use protection? Everybody, let that be a lesson to you.
Yeah, man.
So yeah, but it's like it's been all over. It started on my hands, and I started seeing it coming out, and it was on my palms, like what you're saying, right? No hair grown there yet, and that started to get very uncomfortable because I work a lot, in my office and I'm typing away all the time, and when it's on your fingertips and stuff like that, it's really not good. But that to one side, I was going through quite a bit of discomfort, and really, like, anyone who's had, say, like chicken pox as a kid or whatever, you're like, the scratchy thing, like, don't scrape it, right? Like, don't make it worse. Don't inflame it. It just becomes a downward spiral. And so I was like, one night, I was like, I couldn't sleep at all. Like every 2 hours I was up, I was like, I can't help myself. Took a cold shower. Nothing was helping. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to try VR. So I took my PSVR 2 and put it on and laid down in a way that, with pillows, that it was comfortable to kind of lay that way. And man, I got some of the best sleep I've had in like a week, because I could totally disappear into this virtual space. I had headphones on, so it kind of deadened the sound as well, so I wasn't distracted. And just threw on kind of a jumper or a hoodie like this, so that I wasn't like physically touching anything. And yeah, I was able to kind of disconnect from myself. And it was some of the best VR for pain and discomfort medication that I've done for myself. Actually, commonly I can't. When I feel sick, like sick to my stomach, I can't VR. I get sim sickness because my brain's like, something's not right. And then I can't. But this was, and this is why I'm mentioning it in case anyone else goes through the same thing, it was like the perfect application VR. I felt like I had magic medicine all of a sudden. And for a good probably 10 hours, I was able just to like peace out into VR. And whether I was cognitive, awake, or sleeping was great. I slept solid block of like 9 hours that way in my PSVR 2. And when I came to the next day, I just started to play VR games to keep my hands busy and keep my mind busy. And it worked great. It worked fantastic. I ended up playing like 10 hours of Death Stranding, which is a fantastic game, by the way. I loved it.
I want to try that. Sort of maybe with like the AR version, because I really hate getting blood drawn. Like I'm the kind of person where it's like you have to elevate my feet, but no, it won't work. Jose, what is it?
It won't. So that's actually really really I love this because you're telling me this and it's all I kept thinking in my playing back in my brain is like the human body's so incredible. Like our pain tolerance, the human body's pain tolerance is actually way higher than we think. It's the you're cognitively looking at yourself getting injured, that your fight or flight, your instincts, raise up, and that's what actually your body focuses
Right.
on the pain. So when you have your mind suspended on it, it's going to take a literal body cut to your bodies and for you to react to it because you're not looking at your body. So your body's essentially focused, your brain receptors are focused on what it knows and it can see. um if I were to come to you and say I'm about to hit you, you subconsciously are going to imagine a hit, your fight or flight instincts kick up, you're going to be waiting for that hit. So it's going to feel much more impactful because your body's spreading a lot of
Yeah.
resources around in order to anticipate that hit. This is actually has been pain management in VR are like hand in hand. Before, when VR started being implemented to medical research, pain management is actually one of the oldest forms of VR in medical. There, I forgot the research lab, but I remember seeing demos where they were treating uh, the ability people that were regaining body functions and limb functionalities, and they would put their entire arm in buckets full of ice, and they would have a VR experience that would actually have you look like you're skiing. And they pretty much they were
That could manage it.
realizing that these kids that normally would yeah, it's incredible
It's
stuff, and it's
twofold. So you have indeed, I mean, your nervous system consists out of two parts. You have your central nervous system and you have your peripheral nervous system. And the peripheral nervous system is actually the one that often is involved with reflexes. So, for example, if you step on a nail or you I don't know you hurt yourself before you realize that the pain is there, your body has already reacted because it takes too long for it to travel all the way up to the brain, register what has happened, and then send a signal all the way back to the muscle to react to it. For example, if you touch something hot, before you actually realize this is hot, your hand is already pulled away. On the other side, your brain can also, even though it's aware of pain, can bite through that, or it can convince itself to like deal with that kind of thing. And that's what you're describing with these like ice buckets. And it's also the reverse. There's phantom pains where you actually have people who don't have their hands will still feel pain. And to a further extreme, you can simulate extra limbs by making people aware of that. There's this famous experiment where they
yes.
they use the two hands and they go with a little feather above it in order
Oh
to like
yeah,
simulate that extra limb, and then they smash it with a hammer, and the person experiences that pain.
I've seen
Have you
that
So
done
one.
that
there's
in VR?
like the pain is an entirely very complicated kind of
But
thing
and the
with
reason I wanted to
registering.
bring this up, right, is I having heard this for years, like we've covered it on podcast years ago as well, is pain therapy or again helping to help people through tough times. And I can tell you, I really, really wanted, like when I was going through COVID or norovirus, like I really wanted VR to help me in those situations, but it never really could because I just couldn't use a headset in that moment because I was feeling nauseous. And this is the first time I think that I've ever been able to successfully use it, and it really helped. It really helped a lot. And so that's why I just wanted to bring my personal experience here. And it's actually thanks to the gentleman who posted on Reddit to say, hey, it disassociated me, it like helped me unlock. And I'm like, that's what I'm looking for. Like, take me away from this plane of existence. I want to go somewhere else. So hopefully it helps somebody at some point in your future, because I always thought that one of VR's best use cases was to people who were sick, stuck in the god awful place that is like a hospital room, with a bunch of people hacking, coughing, sick. You're lonely, you're pulled away from your friends and family, you're in pain. I mean, my God, all it takes is to watch one Spinal Tap, and you'll realize how effective it would be just to be anywhere else when that type of thing is happening to you in real life. And like Adam, I'm not a fan of needles, right? So I don't watch when someone goes and jabs a needle into my arm. And if I could put a VR headset, in fact, I've used it at the dentist. I've used it for root canals and stuff. I brought an Oculus Go along, and I'm like, I'm going away. And then I put headphones on, and I'm like, just open my mouth, do whatever you want to it. Just let me zone out. Kind of like Tea for God. But anyway, that's we'll go from there. Let's move to the next pressing news article. So, next up, and there's no beating around the bush for this one. We've covered Tilt 5 before, and I wanted to highlight a post from the CEO, Jerry Ellsworth. Can't keep a straight face, which I thought was deeply insightful and inspiring. To quote Jerry, she said, I'll ask Adam to bring this one up. Fuck! With 4 exclamation marks. And so more than a week later, that's got 27,000 views. Just Jerry's expression of exclamation. My favorite response in this thread was from Ed Calloway, who I've met here in Toronto, who did graphics work with, I think it was ATI, and labeled an old product called the Screambody. I know we've all felt this at some point, just the need to scream into the ether. It's actually not that different from what we were just talking about, where you want to separate yourself from reality. This is more about grounding yourself and just letting it out, right? But man, that resonated with me, because I've had that moment in my life a few times. I'm sure we all have. But then I came to know this product, the Screambody. In short, it's a wearable, soundproof chamber where you can scream in public into what looks like a pillow backpack that you wear on your front. Kind of like you were pregnant, right?
God, I hope there's no baby in there. Just if you're in public, so just scream
You're
at her
trained
baby.
to do that. Like,
the kicker about the Screambody product is that it records your scream. So as you're screaming into the void, it records you. And then when it's appropriate, you can squeeze the Screambody and it'll let the scream out.
oh, I would just wait up until like next to like some old lady, you know, on the bus, and I just go like squeeze.
It's like she's barfing into a bag.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know if I'd want to do that in public. People probably would like, "Are you all right? What's happening here?" Oh God.
It's just incredible. So it's perfect for if someone cuts you off in traffic, or you miss your bus or something like that. But it removes the scream from those inappropriate moments, like when your kid spills your chocolate milk or whatever, and and moves it to somewhere else. So I just thought that was a hilarious thing, obviously from the '90s or something like that. And Jerry's exclamation reminded me of a wee story that I had. Again, I was quite entrepreneurial in my young career, and with a business buddy of mine back in London, where Rowdy's currently sitting on his global travels, we were planning to put together a company to sell flip-flops at nightclubs. We're going to have college students hand them out, £5 for a bag with a pair of sandals in it, that then, a lady coming out of the club, feet just torn to shreds from high heels all night, pop those into the bag, flip-flop your way home, and we're going to call them night crawlers. And we were like super happy with this whole thing, right? Like we were like, yeah, well, let's do it. And then midway through we were just checking a bunch of stuff out, looking for competition, looking at pricing, looking at Asian manufacturers to get this thing marketable. And my business partner does exactly like Jerry, and just across the call at the time, I don't remember what we were using to speak. And he just like, fuck, like just as loud as it all. And I'm like, what? And he sends me a website, and it was for Rollisol. It was a £20, so much more upmarket product than ours. Really stylish, rollable flat for women that sat in a vending machine outside of clubs, was already deployed to like 6 or 7 different places. And we were like, well, there goes our business plan. We're dead in the water.
Oh, man.
So Jerry's expletive will be echoing through my head for some time to come. But like what Jose was saying about, this place is about creators, it's about engineers, it's about entrepreneurs who have an idea, who put themselves through it. And for 20 of the screams that they put into a bag, you get one refined product at the end of it, right? So keep screaming into bags, keep screaming into pillows, or whatever the case may be. Let it out.
Scream loud. Scream loud. That's that's my advice. Scream really loud. Don't use a Screambody. Like that's what they want you to think. You know what I mean? Like every single person running a business or in that space, they're yelling just like that, just as loud. And honestly, it's disingenuous. Be loud, be angry. I think that there's value to it. I think that we're trying to paint engineers to be like these like really kind and well-mannered. I blame the Steve Jobs picture, the Steve Jobs like carrying himself and the Wozniak, like No, we're crazy, we're loud, we're chaotic, we're yelling. There's no pillow that can sustain a real engineer's scream.
That is a quote for
I'll
a
tell you
t-shirt,
that.
Jose. That is beautiful. But yeah, so I love it. I love the realism. This is dragging us back to real life again, and thought I would just bring you there. So let me pull you back into VR now by spicing up your VR bedroom. Don't worry, there's nothing actually bedroom related here, but metaphorically speaking, I want to spice things up with some kinky new tricks. Okay, how about, like we talked last time, I talked about going for a bit of a splash at a local water park. Why don't we just combine VR headsets with the Splish and Splash ride? Oh man! All right, so there's a video that Adam's about to show you, where it shows a German water park with a waterproof 3DOF headset,
Oh God.
which takes you down a slide where you can't see Jack. God, water parks are scary enough as they are. The fear of drowning or whatever. But how would you like to have water coming at you and pterodactyls, dinosaurs? How about a whole park full of creatures? Well, you can do it now at Vigeland Waterrides and
Of course.
enjoy the watery jungle world as you go down. For €2 a pop, you get one of these returnable headsets, which has a really interesting feature, like a bowling ball return system. The VR headset at the bottom of the slide just comes back up this big, what would you
Return
call it?
system?
Conveyor belt. Yeah, it's a conveyor belt driven return system. You pay your £2 and you get to amp up your water ride experience. What are you guys' thoughts of
No.
this?
Wait, why do you need to amp it up? Like it's already
Yeah.
quite a lot. No, like
VR slide. You said Germany.
it reminds me of those. You know, when you go to the amusement park and it's like this, like you can fly with the dinosaurs. Like it's like a movie seat and like you shake around a little bit. There's a screen in front of you in 3D.
Oh.
That's like what this is like the next level of. I feel like.
Yeah, it's existed for a while. VR slide, they have zipline experiences. The problem with VR in a fast-paced physical being used as a fast-moving vessel, you don't get to focus on the experience, right? So I've done the VR water slides. You mentioned I've done one. I think you are talking about
what do you
VR
think
slide. You
about
mentioned
that? What do you think about that?
pterodactyls.
Because I've not done one.
Yeah, you don't see the pterodactyls. You don't see them. All you see is a brown blur because your headset. There's a physics versus speed reality, right? So the only way that they'll ever be able to deliver something like this and really make it viable is if they're using something like a big
like
screen
goggles,
beyond.
right?
And yet that form factor doesn't have a wireless GPU yet that can do that very well with the high quality.
Yep.
So you're using large headsets. So the momentum is shifting your face. You're moving around. So you don't really see anything. You just see a lot of colors. You do get to see a few things, but by the moment that you focus on something, you're already in the water. So it's very hard to concentrate. It's very hard to make the experience long enough for you to gaze
You know
at
what I
something.
equate this to? Having not
It's-
done it, I feel like it's the multi-layering that some people try with. You add VR and you add like psychedelics. So you add VR and alcohol, like get yourself drunk off your tits and then go into VR. And I think it's too much, like what Rowdy's saying, right? I think it's too much. There's too many variables to make it a focused experience for it to be impressive right now. This does remind me, however, of a slightly different thing. Before I go on to the thing it reminds me of, though, I have to highlight Mad Hatter. You just posted the funniest shit in chat. Said, in reality, they just spray you with a power washer while you sit stationary in a car tire. Yeah, that might actually
It's
work.
safer.
That might work. Right?
People who want to go after those experiences tend to not be really good at understanding the senses that they're trying to manipulate. I think a really good example of this working a really good way is the jump people, where they put you suspended in a parachute and you're flying. So that there's mechanisms. I think that there are ways to do these experiences really well, but they're very expensive, because if you put somebody like say in a suspended space and then they're moving around and now they're in the VR headset and that's giving you the cognitive, there's ways to hack the body. There's just not everybody's good at it, unfortunately. Like you have to, slide.
So this reminds me of another slide, which we saw, and we covered this on the podcast with like 5 years ago, back in 2017. When the Shard was built in London, again where Rowdy is sitting, which is a large glass building, at the very top, you could take a slide in an Oculus CV1, the Oculus Rift, the original one. And you're essentially on a slick board, so it feels like you're sitting. And again, you're already aware that you're at the top of a skyscraper, but now you're sitting on a curved table, a curved piece of wood, and feel like you're slipping around. So there's the fear of heights coupled with what looks like an exterior to the building wooden slide that goes around the shard in kind of a spiral, which to me at the time looked kind of silly, a bit gimmicky, right? But obviously the people who tried it were like quite excited by the idea. Again, it's a trade-off experience. You're doing it. I don't think we're quite there yet, but like what Jose is saying, there is something to this. There is something to this trick of like trick the human into exciting experience, like Ricky's Plank experience, right? That's another example of one, which works very well in that combination of real and virtual. The Efteling, I think, had one as well. It used to be one of Nathy's favorite tales, for example, which is another park ride that's doable.
It's also important that one little thing I want to add is remember what virtual reality truly means, right? When we think of virtual reality, we always immediately think of goggles. Virtual reality is that you're physically seeing something that's not real, that's virtually enhanced, that you're suspended. A really good virtual water slide is one without a headset. The moment that you a dark, and there's a company, I'm afraid of mentioning them because I don't know if they announced this publicly yet, but there is a water slide that's being built in the US and they're doing similar concept. It's a dark tunnel-esque kind of situation where the actual tube itself are screen panels running in virtually creating.
That makes way more sense. It's like a roller coaster.
Exactly. They're using physical head tracking through the water slide to determine positioning, and that's allowing to enhance.
How the heck does that work? Hang on. I'm going to play this back to you. LED screens that are somehow waterproofed surrounding the tube that you're sliding through, otherwise a dark tunnel. So if they ever have a power outage, I'm not going through that second tube. And then so you got water and the rider going through, but they're tracking the head with what? A device that you're wearing?
Not the head itself. They're tracking your body, and they're using the track every body to know where your head is, right? Because it's a fast moving. You're moving really fast, so they can only know where you are.
Why didn't they track your head? They just need to know your position, right?
Exactly. They know where your position is, and they determine based on where your body length. They know where your head will be. So they essentially are. The best way to describe it, I have a glass cup. I guess when you're sliding down, it will know where to project based on where you're moving.
Right, because if you're short, so you're going to have higher sides, as opposed to if you're tall, the sides would be less.
Yeah, and it's accounting all that space.
Okay.
It sounds like a very easy problem, because the only thing you need is like a laser system to know where the position is, and then just where the laser ends.
Stations can do it really well. It is. Because I'm really afraid of talking too much about this stuff.
All right.
The best way that they describe it, I don't care. It's engineering. At the end of the day, it's cool stuff. So it's the same thing as a touchpad, like a trackpad on on a computer, where it knows based on that. So they're using that pressure to know where you are at all times, and then they're using a projector to like pretty much positioning the entire. It's.
He got too excited.
I think we lost. He got too excited. Yeah.
So they found out he was talking about it.
They got him.
Shut it down.
I think, Jose, because you're frozen at the moment, so just hold a second. Adam will refresh you and hopefully can bring you back. With that, I'm going to move on just a little bit. So how if water's not your thing, right? Like, how about cycling? There was a really fun showcase, again, just last week, where combining an exercise bike, Grand Theft Auto 5, there's a Redditor named Weston who was taking rides around Los Santos, the world of GTA 5. He's got an Xbox controller on the handlebars, a modded version of GTA 5, the Luke Ross mod, and like you do in Happy Run, he's just pedaling away, looking where you're going up these mountain dirt tracks. What a good way to exercise in your headset, honestly, as you're kind of going this way. So Adam will get a chance to run that video. It looks like we've got Jose back, so you're free to speak again, sir. But Los Santos on an exercise bike. There we go.
Yeah, that's crazy.
I love this kind of thing. I'm one of those guys who back in the day, Adam reminded me of Kinect. I remember the Wii Fit balance board where you, I think you weren't using the balance board, but you were jogging in place with a controller in your pocket and you would jog around an island, and all these little Wii characters and your family members or whatever who you'd set up with Wii avatars, whatever they were called, would be jogging alongside you and you'd be running away. I think this video is a little bit naughty in that there's no real in-game tracking. He's got a controller just out of the camera view, so
It's going way too fast as well.
Yeah.
And no regular physics.
Yeah, there's no direct connection here. Now, there used to be a thing, and there used to be virtual pelotons actually done back in my day of Twitch, because people would look up virtual reality cycling, and that was those. And then they'd run across me and they'd be like, hey, I just came from so-and-so's stream. So that used to be a big deal back in Twitch. But I used to love the Wii jogging, and I used to think that that would fit really well for VR until I saw it mocked up and actually tried it out. And the closest thing I would say is a game called Happy Run, which is another video which I fed to Adam for your pleasure. For those who don't know Happy Run, it is a somewhat questionable app in that you're jogging through a forest, and the speed of your jog is controlled by how quickly the headset is flopping up and down on your face. And let me just tell you now, if it's not really strapped to your head, it's not the most comfortable of experiences, because the headset will flop off and thwack you in the face again and again. So that's a lovely motion, but I would imagine something like Big Screen Beyond would solve this problem, because again, it's like swimming goggles strapped to your face. The questionable part about Happy Run was, at the time, was you're chasing a lady, and this just seems wrong, right? You're like chasing a lady down this dirt track, and like you're trying to catch up to her, and you're running through a forest. It's just all very questionable. I don't know what the dev was really thinking with that. I thought jogging alone would have just been fine.
Have you guys ever seen there's like a prank meme video of a guy exercising wearing like a Jason mask, and he has like a knife attached to an like that's what it reminded me when you said that. Verzoom,
Yes.
I think it's a good.
I was going to mention that.
Verzoom,
they do a great job with it.
Yeah, that they do a really good job. I truly believe that VR and with like exercise equipment, it's the same thing that we were just discussing, that the human body has to be figured out. I truly believe that the best example of exercise equipment paired with and we're going to talk about those later, but like the Rokid or the X-Reel are a really good device for that, because now you have a 2D screen floating anywhere in your peripheral, and now you can focus on your exercise and do what people do with, watching their iPad movie or playing the game, how the guy was doing with the exercise bike. I think there's better devices for that because of your head momentum.
I've tried a couple of the like exercise bike or running equivalents, and I do like, I think out of all of them, VZ Fit seemed to track the best, because you attach like a cadence sensor to your bike pedal, so it can match the actual speed that you're pedaling. And it uses Google Earth, so you can literally just it uses Street View, so it really depends on the quality of what the Street View looked like at that time. But they have like not fake maps, but like 3D, like their own environments that you can put yourself into if you don't want to use Google.
I remember that there were some weird ones with VZ Fit. Like I was, it was either running or cycling and like driving an Apache helicopter through a canyon.
Oh yeah,
like there was some.
They had like a game version where you can like. There's like another one where you can drive tanks with while you're pedaling, and that equates to your movements and other stuff. I forget.
I want to like that stuff. I really want to. I want us to break through that very uncanny valley barrier of it not being good enough yet, so that I can actually exercise that way. Because I still think that would help. I tend to not like repetitive stuff. So, just sitting on an exercise bike at the gym, listening to beats is not my kind of fun. Like I need to go out, and if I'm going to do running, I'm going to run on a track or run up a mountain or something like that, right? It can't just be the same goddamn track every single day. I just can't do that. And same thing with like running on a treadmill. So, I hope we solve that at some point, but they almost seem like medical electronics. They're like 10 years behind all the software that works on that stuff. So I look forward to that catching up. And someone made a comment about having haptic vests and stuff sitting around unused. I am not like that. I use all my haptic equipment. Gun stocks maybe sit on the side, but man, all my haptic gear is in use almost every single day of my life. So I love that. I love that equipment. But there's more we'll come to. Speaking of stuff that's gathering dust, good segue. Ryan McCaffrey is the executive editor of previews at IGN. If you don't know IGN, they're a site that's been for many years now covering reviews, video game releases, game announcements, big old website. And Ryan's been with the company since 2012. Well, this week he spoke out against the PSVR 2, which led to some fiery backlash from the community. Would you mind reading out Ryan's tweet, Adam?
I massively regret the $597, including tax, that I spent on the PSVR 2. I love great VR game experiences, and I was so excited that Sony was doubling down with a truly powerful second-gen headset, but they burned me. There are no games. It already feels dead. Look at the layer of dust. Look at it.
The layer of dust is it's that's a couple of weeks layer of dust. That's like I didn't dust my headset layer, but
maybe it's just a very dirty person.
Maybe. It could be. What do you think? So I know we've just dropped Jose. Maybe he'll be back. Maybe not. Adam, how's your PSVR doing these days?
I admit that I haven't been using it as much, but I don't blame the PlayStation. It's not you. It's me. I just haven't had the time for much VR in general.
So you blame the dust.
So maybe not that much dust. Like I actually take care of my stuff pretty well, but it's still mostly been just daily quest stuff for me. So if anything, a workout app and Nountown, I'm still doing that. So like the bare minimum, not necessarily the fun apps, but again, I wouldn't blame the PlayStation on that. I just blame lack of time personally. But
yeah. I mean, like, and these kinds of posts, the immediate thing is to have emotional reaction to them. Go, oh, no effing anything or whatever. The second thing is to reflect and go like, oh yeah, my headset's got a little dust on it. And maybe the third thing is just to kind of combine the two. So for me, on this being a PSVR 2 owner, I think the library is big. There's a big library now. In terms of what I want to play, it's probably 20% of that. But there are a lot of games that are out and coming out that I'm really keen on playing. But like you, Adam, I'm like, I just don't necessarily get the time to play with a toy that I want to be playing with. And so one of the things that I think we, as gamers, tend to do is compare our gaming systems. And VR kind of looks like a gaming system, like an Xbox or a PlayStation. But the activation energy to go and get into that is quite a bit more. Right? You got to charge your controllers or, dust off the headset, scrub the lenses, get yourself set up, maybe turn the system on, check for feckin' spiders. Yeah. If I was going into that headset, I would make sure there was nothing living inside of it. But that does do something to how frequent you go into it. For me, like VR is a more serious affair. If I'm going in for 4 hours. Like that's typically how I calendar it. And for me, looking forward to stuff coming up, I mean, I think PSVR 2 is totally fine. I think Ryan's gone a little bit tweet heavy with this post2x.com or whatever we're calling it these days. But aside from being a little overzealous and previously being like thrilled with like Gran Turismo and other games that he's talked about just like 4 or 5 months ago, I think Sony's been doing a very good job. They seem to be selling still well. The library seems healthy to me, and there's games coming which are really worth touching. So things that I was going to mention. I mean, go on, Rowdy, if you want to jump in.
There is a truth to it, of course, that like a lot of people were, from what I saw on Twitter and in news sites was like PSVR was going to save VR, was going to be the new system everyone's going to flock to. And like living up to that promise was probably not realistic from the beginning. I think they came out with a few very strong titles, but we shouldn't forget that this is still an accessory to their main device. Their main device is still going to be their focus. That is what needs to work for them. And if it works with VR as well, there will be good titles coming. There are good titles coming. There were good titles out as well, but it's not going to be the same kind of push that you see with like the PlayStation releases. It's still an accessory device. There will be good titles coming. There were good titles out there, but it's not going to be that constant stream of big developers working on the next big thing for PSVR, I think. I just think that people need to be a little bit more realistic in the expectations that they set out. I don't know how many million devices that they sold now, but you can't compare that to the amount of devices of PlayStation or of Xbox that they sold.
Right,
so.
and I suspect Sony will continue to keep those numbers to their chest, and news sites will still muse at what that number might be. It's kind of contrary to what Steam does, kind of opening the books, so to speak. Actually, even Meta are pretty open when it comes to some of their statistics, certainly the more successful ones. So we don't know where they're standing, but I like that you've taken us back 6 to 9 months to that kind of celebratory canon. We've certainly had a lot of people upping it, hyping it. Could be the white stallion of 2023 PSVR 2, riding in on that horse to save the day. I think that for the titles that they landed with, certainly Resident Evil, Gran Turismo, and Horizon, just those three kind of heavy hitters. For me, that's enough for 2023 for what it is. Like in the end of the day, like you say, it's an expensive niche accessory for a console, and they need to focus on their breadwinners, right? So the fact that they're putting as much into it as they are, I'm very happy about. And I think as we were coming into February, we were aware that like this could be make or break for Sony's interest in VR. So it's important that we like put some spirit into it. Maybe just don't tear them down at the first hurdle. And unfortunately, I think Ryan's comment is a little bit of maybe a little premature. Is my personal opinion. I'd like to see what they do for the rest of the year. I also agree with you, Rowdy, that we need to temper our expectations about what they're going to do in terms of the heavy hitting titles. Now, if we talk about the kind of B players or C players, there's a few things coming out that are worth knowing about. What just launched, kind of for people who like Tony Hawk Pro Skater. There's Skater VR, which was previously a PC VR title. That's come out to the headset. Ven VR is coming. That's one that I'd like Adam to show the trailer for. We got Firewall Ultra, which is the reason that I bought my PlayStation. I think it's going to be a big disappointment. I'll be honest. The feeling I've got from it is that it'll feel like a sugar-coated PSVR 1 title, and I won't like that vibe once I get to it, is my sense, and I think that's why they're keeping the game cheap. Vertigo 2 is coming at some time later as well. So a game that's been done very well on PC, and I'm glad I've held off to play it on PSVR 2 because I love the headset, the hardware, and all that. But I don't know. I understand that the PSVR 2 also is one of these Marmite headsets. It's not for everybody. It doesn't feel comfortable for everyone. It's quite a high price point. If you already own a Quest or an Index, hard to justify a second device. That at this moment, it feels like 70% of the titles are somewhere else, right? And you probably already played somewhere else in the re-releases.
So that's tough. At least, like, there's some games that I hadn't happened to purchase on like Steam or whatnot that I'm like, oh, okay, like was it Wanderer, right? That we were talking about.
What about that?
I have that on all platforms. Don't worry, I'm covered.
Do you really? Oh my god, you sick lass. Oh jeez.
What was it? Yeah, Wanderer, right? I think that's the one where they were going to add eye tracking to the PSVR 2 version, and even Song in the Smoke, I believe, right? The prehistoric survival game. I had never tried that, but I love survival games, so I still haven't given that a shot. Again, not the PlayStation's fault, not the game's fault, just a me problem. But there are some titles that I just have on the backlog. Again, not big like Spider-Man, Grand Theft Auto, big hunk of a development, titles, but still stuff that I'm like, yeah, this is my genre that I would play.
But it's interesting you mention that, because I think that's something that VR still needs to grow a lot in, like the accessibility to a game. Like Zim said as well, like it's so much more of an investment to pick up a headset, put on a game, and start playing a game. Even more if you're recording it, because it's just like so much more investment. Not even talking about the physical aspect yet of it, but like just like getting everything in order for you to start the game is sometimes too big of a hurdle compared to like a AAA title that has developers just on, making sure people get into the game as easy as possible. And that is, I think, something that some developers do really well, but that is something that VR still needs to grow in as a medium, I think, in general.
Yeah, the other thing I would say is, and this might move us kind of nicely on, is for me, when I was talking about the experiences I had with PSVR 2, using it as a kind of a pain medicator, right? Like moving me away from my current experience. Man, I'm using more and more that cinematic mode, where I've just got a 120 hertz display with high dynamic range. And in titles like what I've been playing recently, it really makes it pop and fluid in contrast to my somewhat aging LCD panel TV. I don't have a modern OLED with beautiful blacks and stuff like that as my television. So the PSVR 2 and being able to play on the couch, for example, aside my kids playing a game, and I can disappear into headphones and a headset and a massive widescreen TV and play VR away and still keep an eye on, the kids and the puppy and stuff every so often. Just press a button and there's a spider trying to come get me. Please go away now. No, I've had enough of spiders in the last week.
To you. What is it with you and spiders?
I don't know.
Hives.
It's spiders in.
I'm just trying to get superpowers is all, Adam. I'm trying to live up to my full potential.
How's that going for you?
Not great. I'm Leopard Man today. So that's really like PSVR 2 current commentary. I mean, VR at the moment is good. From my measurement, still healthy, still got titles coming out, still got developers putting into it. But if I was a business owner, particularly a studio owner, I think it's a tough time to be releasing VR games. Like, find your niche. Success or failure, it just feels like it's a dice roll right now. Now, in VR, it has been that way all along to some extent, but we are seeing some developers make changes and kind of sway along with the industry as it ebbs and flows. One of the changes that's coming is Grapple Tournament, which is a title we played not too long ago, probably 3, maybe 4 years ago. Feels like it was more recently than that. But they recently announced that they're going to move to free to play. So it's a survival tactic, in my opinion, for studios, right? And hopefully it will allow more players to get an introduction to that game, those game mechanics where you have very much grappling hook, combat with a fast-paced shooter, very much like what was that Hyper Rail game before Breachers that Triangle Studio worked on?
I don't know. It's gonna drive me crazy. I don't remember, but I know what you're talking about.
Hyper something. Yeah, I'm forgetting
Dash?
the full name of
No.
it. Hyperdash? Yeah, Hyperdash.
Yeah.
Hyperdash.
Okay.
Yeah,
it sounds too generic, but I'm like suspicious.
It does sound generic, but that's Hyperdash, and of course we had things like Gorilla Tag, Rec Room, other games that had started off with a freemium model, and I feel like this is a one-way street. Like, once you turn on the free to play, like, that's you and your IP stuck to free to play probably from that point forward. Obviously, we saw it there with other battle royale type games that we saw, and as I said, it's a survival mechanic. But right now, I think it's about survival, like going after multiplayer only VR games. It's always been tough. There's one that's thriving, which is Ghosts of Tabor. So recently, Combat Waffle, the studio behind Tabor, said that they topped $3 million in sales on App Lab alone. App Lab is a force to be reckoned with. It's not even storefront. You can get to App Lab titles through the search bar, which is great. That helps to advertise a little bit. But largely speaking, those store pages have to be sent by the developer to their audience for them to be able to reach even the store page. I think the basic message that they had sent with the development focus article, putting them in the spotlight, is test your game with your audience early. They had early alphas and betas with their audience involved, took feedback, and kept that healthy game loop of listen to your audience, develop, release, right? All a very kind of strong, agile workflow. And then allowed word of mouth to spread a game that, again, looked and felt very similar to some popular flat games. So that was Ghost of Tabor and their recent success in the industry. I also wanted us to deep dive into the current market share by headset. So Steam stats have been interesting all along the way, tracking the VR journey. They changed a little bit about how VR games show, but one of the stats here that's kind of incredible for those who are index users out there, for the first time ever, Index has crossed 20%. That's 1/5 of the market share of the environment. 2/5 go to Quest 2 at the moment at 41%. Index sitting there just above 20. Rift S, love the headset, inside out cabled headset, 11.8% is next in line. Then Vive, people are still using the original Vive
My
at
husband,
6.2%.
he gets the hand-me-downs.
Yeah, why not? It's a healthy headset. Then the Rift, the CV1, 5.6%. Windows Mixed Reality is still hanging on to a healthy portion at 5.5%. This is the one that's most surprising to me. The original Quest is it's less than 2%. It's 1.9% for the Quest 1. Nearly a dead headset. And as we're heading out to September, where a bunch of developers are saying, no way, Jose, to the Quest, and dropping support after September, Quest is aging, and it's aging much more quickly than even the original CV1 or Rift S, which is kind of surprising to me. The Pico 4 comes in at 1.5%, so Pico getting a little bit of a state. And then the original Oculus headsets, the DK2 has 0.05%, and to the 4 people out there in Oculus Rift DK1s attached to Steam, 0.01%. Literally the 0.01% club. That's what, 100th or 1,000th?
Maybe that's
100th
like
of a percent.
Developers just testing support for something for some reason.
It's probably something like that. It's
Why
like
would you be testing support for an antiquated headset? I doubt that. But
no, I think it's more like some kind of like SDK kind of thing to ensure backwards compatibility or something like that. The only thing, because my data sensors are starting to tingle here. Did they report the total number?
The actual figure?
Yeah.
Usually in the Steam stats, you have access to that. I didn't click into it at this stage.
Because what this makes me think of is that we see here a little bit of a shift of like people who bought a device for a specific purpose, a specific game. Because we know that people bought the Valve Index specifically for example, Onward, or specifically for shooters, specifically for races, whatever it is.
Right.
Like, and those general purpose headsets, like we saw with the Quest, they're starting to drop off a little bit. So this makes me think that maybe it is just the total number of users that has reduced, while the people who have bought devices for specific headsets, they keep on playing the game that they bought the headset for. And therefore you see, so it's not really that
they're not gaining traction
now.
It's
exactly
that the
big ones are losing a little bit.
Yeah, the general purpose headsets are gathering dust is what you're saying. And while that's happening, the simmers and all the specific use case people are poking through. That's a really good observation, Rowdy. It'd be interesting to see that over time. And I bet you're hitting the nail on the head with that. I bet you that's exactly what we're seeing. And I would also expect to see that U-turn probably over the next 6 months. I would expect Quest 3 to sell a lot. Not as much as Quest 2. I would expect it to be the winner for the Christmas holidays. And then I would expect it to dry up again Q1, maybe going into Q2 next year. I think we're going to see the same cycle of basically like 6 months of, hey, I'm into VR. It's a hot thing. Pick it up and then drop it again. Because it seems to have a short attention span for a lot of people because of that activation energy we were just talking about. So... yeah, there you go. If no one can see your tears. Good in chat. Speaking of tears, let's move into a VR headset that's not for gamers, not for VR experiences, but for work. Rowdy and I have been begging for this for some time, actually. So Visor is a new headset by Immersed, the studio behind, I would love to say, the first Quest Pro leak. Do you remember that video that came out where it showed zoom into the lenses or whatever? It was by Immersed, and it was the first glimpse we saw of Quest 3 after all the Bradley leaks and all of that kind of stuff that had happened. Immersed were one of the teams, and they have a multi-screen kind of remote working software platform that works for remote collaboration. So this is the team taking kind of a page out of Big Screen's book, who are, moving away from software to do a little bit of hardware for themselves. So do you know those stylish glasses you get after having eye surgery? The big kind of opaque lenses. Well, these guys have designed a headset for work. The idea is rather simple. Take it this glass's form factor, keep it light. I said lighter than your phone, so say 150 grams. Give the user a series of displays. The current app supports up to five monitors. Replace the desktop monitors with something akin to what Quest Pro did, but do that with near to no boot up time or software, no app store, just your displays. So it's basically a monitor replacement headset. If you're interested in this kind of a headset, you can sign up for pre-orders dropping this year at visor.com. Good God, that domain must have cost them an arm and a leg. I know from having specced out FReality.com at one point back in the day, right? Having an easy, short URL, it's going to cost you a fortune. At the moment, their website is pretty simple. You go there, you plug your email into a box and submit, and they say, we'll let you know when the thing can be purchased. There aren't many details out. I think they said it's about 4K in each eye in terms of what they've got. At the moment, a lot of the images that they're showing are really just, I'll call them like prefab models. But the eye gaskets look very, very similar to like a Quest Pro. So a raised interface and all that. Maybe they'll even have kind of light blockers that go with it. But the idea is this headset is for work. It's expected to be a tethered experience, not wireless. Relatively lightweight. You wear it on your head. It has an optional strap. So in addition to the on-ears rest, which might get a bit uncomfortable for 150 grams, also has a band that can connect it at the back. So I'm curious. What do you guys think of this?
I like the band, but I don't know how I feel about the glasses part. I mean, I don't know. I think I'd have to see how it looks on my face. Because like with the Rokid, for example, it still screams kind of like AR glasses, which eventually maybe we'll get to the minimal impact of like, it just looks like regular sunglasses or slightly stylish techie sunglasses. But these, even though I'm not sure, I have to see how they look on my face. Band is cool.
Yeah.
I feel like it almost looks like a protective, like when you're wearing protective goggles, if you're like a dentist or something and you don't want to get that spit, like everyone spit on your face. Like that's what the style reminds me of. So I don't know. I'd have to see it on more real faces versus
more like a face shield.
Yeah.
It doesn't look particularly stylish to me. My question to you, Adam, just to rebuttal a little bit, does it matter? I mean, if you're working in these, like if you're working in a VR headset or you've got goggles on or whatever, these kinds of glasses form factor, does it matter? Do you care?
Personally, no, because I probably would only be using it for like travel or at home, movie theater entertainment purposes. But I guess if they want to get to the point where you're like in the office or out using it out in public or whatever, then yes, that's not me, but like it would be nice to take a good YouTube video where I don't look like a dork sort of wearing these glasses, I don't know. So maybe, again, not sure. I'd have to see it on a real face and not like a mannequin, fancy 3D mannequin head to see.
Well, I could imagine Rowdy wearing a pair of these, but Rowdy, what do you think? What'll take it to get you into working in a headset?
I don't know. I think it's a little bit the same issue as I said with gaming earlier, right? Where it's that ease of getting into it. Like with me, it's literally just open the laptop and you're there. But if it takes too much effort for me to get into a work environment, then it doesn't matter that it looks really cool. It's probably fun for like a little while, like maybe a month, 2 months, but then I'll probably go back to a laptop or a desktop or workstation or whatever it is, because it's it's work.
Because you can eat a burger, grab a drink, flip your laptop screen open, bang away at the keys, pay attention when your wife walks in, have a quick chat. You have these things on your face, and all you're looking at is work. Yeah. So it's interesting, and I had to ask myself the same question. It's like, what would get me into it? I agree with what you're saying there, Rowdy. Like that barrier is a lot stronger an inhibitor than I think I first factored. Like when I first got into VR, I was like, fucking put things on my head, right? Just do it. Just put me in that world. I want to live in there, whatever. But now, because life is so multi-part, like interleaving, I definitely have an interest in stuff that works more multi-purpose. It's kind of like the Nintendo Switch back in the day, where why did that work? It's because you could just take it with you. You could just walk around. You could switch on toilet if you wanted to, or in bed, on the bus, all that kind of stuff. And so then the look and feel of the device matters to me. I don't normally care, right? I can look like a dork, no problem. I can look like a dork on a video, also no problem. But when it's out and about in public and you're like, I just kind of want to look semi-normal and get on with what I'm doing, and not worry about it kind of being too me wearing, a Zim wearing a space helmet on the bus, right? So
we also don't want to look like a target of like, ooh, those look expensive and not really like sunglasses.
Sure.
Like I'm gonna, follow this person or maybe find a way they're not paying attention and just yank them off your face and steal them. I don't know. That's other thoughts that go through my head sometimes. Like I don't want to obviously look like I've got expensive tech on my face. I don't want to be a target in public,
Yeah, sure.
At home, it doesn't matter, but yeah.
Or make an itchy security guard nervous as you walk into a shopping mall, and he's there like holding his trigger, like, what's this guy about to do? So yeah, great. So that's Visor. Anyway, they're coming out. Take a look at them. Kind of an interesting thing. We don't yet have a good desktop replacement. The main thing for me is that boot up time. Like Quest used to be super quick. I think. And I don't think Rowdy, you weren't there with us in Boston, right? I think that was one you weren't able to come along to. It was just Mike, Nathan, and me. But it used to be like 8 seconds to get into Beat Saber. So the headset be running or whatever, but like boom, boom, boom. And Quest today is like, it's like a stacked sandwich. There's just so much stuff that has to load and boot. And every time I've got to configure my Guardian, it doesn't remember stuff very well. I like the PSVR 2 for that reason. When I throw it on, it's like, it just remembers my room. As long as I haven't changed rooms, and I changed rooms quite a bit. So like ease of use and those first few seconds, that boot up time really, really, really matters to me because it holds me away from VR. And the faster I can pick it up and drop it, better. So I'm looking forward to that for the work environment. So with that, this is a very good segue. Adam's been sent some wonderful tech. Some of you might have heard of this equipment, and I'll let Adam talk about this. But Adam's going to tell us if we can all change our lives by moving over to an augmented lifestyle. And I'm curious.
High expectations.
Same here.
So,
what's that experience like living with AR?
This is the perfect segue because I mean, this is my first actual pair. wait. This is my first actual pair of AR glasses, like owned. I mean, I've tried some at conventions and stuff, but they always put you in the same like enterprise stuff you wouldn't normally do. Like, here's a car, take it apart. I'm like, when am I ever going to do this? This isn't applicable to me. So to actually have something that I could do my own stuff with has been really interesting. So like, as a basic lowdown, I'll take off the actual light blockers here. This is the Rokid Max, which is available now. It's pretty new. They're all right looking. I think they still look kind of AR glassesy, like
Rowdy's like
the Nreal, I think have done a little better when it comes to style. I feel like theirs are a bit more flat versus Rokid's, which is still kind of chunky.
They look like pregnant sunglasses is the way I would describe them to our audio listeners.
It kind of looks like an even bigger version of my grandma's glasses. You know what I mean? Like those big, chunky ones that she puts on, like
sunglasses.
with the big glasses.
So it's a little cooler, I guess.
And you can see through that. So without the blockers, the light blockers, with the white light blockers, can you put the light blockers on them and stick them on your face? Because I'm curious how this looks.
Yeah.
Because the light blockers are actually bigger than I thought, and
kind of hard with the headphones, but
they almost look like a Ray-Ban sunglass. Like they almost look more normal with the light blockers on, but they look like a cartoon size.
When I have the light blockers on, I feel like it's awkward to be in public because I feel like a horse with blinders on. I mean, I can't see myself, so I don't know how silly I look. But when I look at pictures of myself, like out, like in the car or in public, I feel like a horse with blinders on, and it feels really weird. But
those are big,
effective. They work well for what what they do. Because I've tried these both inside, of course, and outside just for funsies. Again, I probably wouldn't use it like in a park or anywhere with super bright sunlight. Outdoors, I would probably most likely be a plane or airport or whatever. But
is that because of the contrast? Like you wouldn't be able to see the virtual screen overlaid on your environment? Just help me a little bit about how the setup works. And I thought they were cabled. They're cabled, right?
They are,
or can you actually run stuff in them with no cable?
Nope, there's no internal battery, so it would run off of whatever you have it cabled to. So I tried it with my phone, my laptop, and my Switch just for fun. So it's pretty much just USB-C to USB-C. I think if you're an Apple user, you'd be able to use it well. You just need an adapter for it. But so yeah, as far as the brightness, if you didn't, with the light blockers on, it's fine. But if you wanted to have like a normal, not blind horse look outside in public, The brightness isn't great. If you're using, you would pretty much need to use something with white mode. Anything that's black or dark, it was just too hard to see. Or I would do that in combination with sort of looking up at the sky, because having it look at anything else was just too busy. So I don't want to talk. I don't want to sound like I'm talking down on it, because I feel like it's actually a great AR glasses, but with the expectations that you're not going to be just walking around the sidewalk outside or at a park without the light blockers on. I mean, obviously, if you had the light blockers on, it'd be dangerous while walking, but it is.
But it's more of a sit and use headset, right? So remind me of some of the basics here. 3 DoF, right? It's not 6 DoF.
It has 3 DoF support. For like if you want to play certain games that they have in their app store, that has 3 DoF support. I didn't really like it in 3 DoF though, to be honest, because that in combination with using my phone as the controller just felt stupid. But I don't know if
dated.
Yeah, I don't know if that's because I'm so used to VR that my standards are a little higher. Like maybe somebody who's never tried it before. I feel like someone who's never tried 3 DoF before with the phone and AR glasses would be very confused, to be honest, on why.
What do you see? Like, can you? So, for example, are you seeing your whole screen when you tether to your phone?
Yeah, you can see. Well, you can see. It's up to you. You can either choose to use, like, I have an Android phone, so you can use Samsung Dex, which gives you like a Windows desktop view of your phone, or you can use the Rokid app, and that kind of has its own UI where you can quickly access movies, different apps they had on their store, or you can choose to use their projector mode, which is basically you just see your phone screen in the glasses. So you got a couple different options there. With the phone, I mostly used it for like productivity and movie watching, and what I really liked about these glasses, but it's unfortunate, is it does have 3D side-by-side support. So if you wanted to watch 3D movies, but it has to be the side-by-side format, not the red-blue crap. Unfortunately, very hard to find that kind of content. Yeah,
it's not easy. Yeah, there's not a lot on YouTube actually. But so how is it like watching a YouTube video or something? Is it? I'm curious. Can you compare it? I don't know if you've used the cinematic mode in PSVR 2 very much, but could you compare the screen size, the virtual screen size, because you're seeing a large TV-like display in the headset?
Comparing it to the PlayStation feels larger, but you also have light blockers on the sides versus the glasses, which you still are going to have some light bleed from the sides. So I would say the screen still looks pretty clear, with the exception of the top corners. That's where, if you're really focusing on like the X on a close menu or something, it starts, for some reason it starts to get a little fuzzy, but usually I'm not.
Is it like dithering, or is it a low resolution? Like, what do you describe what you see in that respect?
Maybe more like dithering, because it's just a little blurrier over there for some reason. But again, I'm not usually looking at the far upper right corners of windows anyway, so not that big of a deal. And only when it's obviously horizontal. When you're looking at your phone screen and it's just vertical, you don't notice it at all. But yeah, I also tried it on my Switch. Well, I tried different games with it. I tried phone games, like through the Rokid Max app. They have some their store is pretty terrible. There's not a lot of games to try for this. Some of them have 3 DoF support, but they're very either lacking in content or they just crash when you load them. There was I think a scary game called Lost in the Abyss, which was pretty good. That one actually had full movement, so you could kind of do the WASD thing on your phone, which was again weird, but at least it tried more than some of the other titles I tried where you're just shooting fish in space for some reason. So I tried it.
Their app, their software, generally dismissible in terms of use case is what I'm hearing from you. But when you tether it to other devices, is that one of the main use cases that you're finding valuable?
I mean, particularly with my Switch. I mean, I tried it with my laptop just for fun, and I ran Diablo 4 through it just because why not? And interestingly enough, though, the reds, it's an OLED micro LED, sorry. But interesting enough, the reds really pop because I ran like a sorceress build that I was going with the glasses. And for some reason, the red really, really stands out. It almost makes it look like it's 3D, even though I didn't have the 3D mode on. So that was super cool. I will say though, it make my husband sick because if you're
Really?
well, because if you're moving your head around and you're using, your keyboard and his characters, and his character's going in one direction, but I don't know if he's got a bobblehead and he's just constantly kind of doing this. But so if you're kind of susceptible to motion sickness, if you're the kind of person that maybe you can't read a book in the car, it probably wouldn't be a pleasant experience for you, I imagine. But maybe the Switch might be better because you actually have a handheld controller versus having to be stuck with the keyboard in front of you, because that's what I really liked. I was like, man, I don't have to worry about holding the thing up to my face while I'm laying down and then maybe dropping it on my face, because I've done that a couple times and it's not fun.
Oh my god, I want to see a blooper reel of Adam just getting clonking the Switch on her head. That's
sweaty
funny.
hands person. So I used
That's a very good.
Yeah.
That's a very good use case. So basically you could be lying flat on your back, with the glasses on, Switch kind of down comfortably wherever near your lap or whatever, and just playing away. But you can see everything ahead of you. So is this very much a kind of sit down indoors and chill to game use case?
I would say yes. And I would say, again, games would be dependent on your level of VRC legs or, car sickness. But movies is probably going to be movies and productivity is going to be probably the main use case. Because what I did, I feel like Jose, I was so proud. I connected this to my phone. This little guy, I don't have all of the little guys with me, but this to my phone. And then I added a Bluetooth keyboard, and I could pretty much just have a little like portable workstation. Oh, and like a power bank, of course. Because what they give you a they don't give you, but it's a optional accessory you can get, a little hub, so you would plug this into your phone, so you could charge it and have the glasses plugged in at the same time, so you don't have to worry about your phone dying. But I think that's my favorite use case. Like I can see myself on a plane just being able to. It's a lighter footprint, if that makes sense, than bringing like a laptop. So if you for some reason were really you just can't bring you can't bring a lot of stuff, you could easily get stuff done with just lightweight Bluetooth keyboard, this power bank.
So run down the build order then. So you've got the glasses themselves, which are what, $600?
It's on sale right now. So normally it's $600, but right now they're $439. I don't know if that's like a fake sale though. How sometimes companies will be like, it's on sale, but it never seems to not be on sale. So we'll see.
It's like out of stock.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And that's for...
That's the other kind of fake sale, yeah.
Yeah. And that's for just the glasses. The glasses, the case, and the cable, but they've got other bundles.
Bluetooth keyboard. Let me see that case. That case looks massive.
Not that bad.
It's not too bad.
No.
It looks like a Bluetooth speaker.
Well, what I like is it's got a little compartment in it, so you can put like the cables and any crap you need. So you just put that in there, smash it down, and then you can put the glasses on top. So it's actually handy for what it can hold.
That could almost fit into a shoe or something. Take up some of the negative space if you were packing for a business trip or something. That's neat.
Like, how big are your shoes? Probably not my shoes. Maybe like maybe a man's shoe. I guess a man's boot.
Yeah.
Well, Steven's been bitten by a spider. Like the smallest feet are twice the size.
Don't even joke, man. My foot does. Yeah, it hasn't fit into my proper shoes for a while.
But yeah, as someone who was very skeptical about why would I need this, I don't understand, because I maybe hadn't had the proper experiences. It is pretty cool. I do travel a lot, or at least a decent amount, maybe like four-ish times a year. And I can definitely see myself, because I actually had this, not a problem, but on a plane flight recently, I was sitting next to a little kid, and I was kind of worried to take my Switch out, because I'm like, oh great, now this kid's just going to be looking over my shoulder for this 10-hour flight. Now I don't have to worry about it. See ya, kid. And then I can still play my games and watch my movies, and I don't have to worry about, people looking over your shoulders. Not that I watch anything inappropriate on a plane, but I guess you could now if you wanted.
I totally would. That feels like a superpower. That feels like a superpower. You just get to watch whatever you want, and you're just on a flight. It's great. But the actual working use case to me, I didn't think that was going to be possible. So, can you explain a little bit more? So, Android phone, Bluetooth keyboard,
Power
the
bank.
little adapter to keep your power bank to keep your phone going. Bluetooth keyboard doesn't need any battery at all, so that'll just hum away. And then glasses on your face and your USB-C tethered to your phone. What kind of, can you create, a PDF document or something like that? Can you, what would you be doing, or working in like a Google Docs? Like how would you do that, cut off from the net?
Well,
let's assume the plane doesn't have Wi-Fi or anything like that.
I mean, for me, like a lot of what I do personally is like marketing related. So maybe I want to, if you're anything you can do offline. If you do create PDFs or I usually
Word
get some sort of Wi-Fi. So it probably wouldn't be a use case where I wouldn't have internet if I needed this. But yeah, anything like content planning, like Canva, the app I used to make all the thumbnails and stuff, I'd probably do stuff like that. Anything you can pretty much do on your phone. Now you just have a bigger screen to be able to see. Because that's one thing I hate is, having my tiny phone up, and then especially if the brightness on my phone for some reason is crap, and so it stays dark like most of the time. I think that's a me problem, but so I can see it being really, really valuable for those times where I'm behind on maybe like a panel speech or something. I need to write something that's literally for the next day because I'm a procrastinator.
Right, and that's what this looks like to me. It looks like a very travel pro thing that you could do on a train. It's keeping what you need to see for your eyes only, which is a pro. The downside to this, I would say, is let's say you want to enjoy a 3D movie or something. It's very much a for me device. You can't share it with your partner or friend or whatever.
Yeah. And it's just hard finding content even because I struggled. You can go to YouTube, but the quality there, it's 3D, but the resolution's so bad from what I've found. Yeah. So,
but that's side by side. How's the resolution just for watching a 1080p or a 4K video?
For normal video, on 3D.
Okay, because I'm kind of picky with that stuff, and PSVR 2 is just on the edge for me. There's enough of that Moira graininess that I'm I'll accept it, but we're not yet there where I want it to be. And I feel like this device, the way you've described it for me, is it's maybe a version or two versions away from being something I would purchase. I don't mind it once there is a use case, and I think the use case is there. Once the technology catches up with the use case, $400 to $600, I'd pay it. If, for example, I could work in that and like you described, right, do that, but off my phone as if I had my laptop, but not have my laptop.
What's
with
interesting
me.
is I see people, post about, using your Quest on the plane or using and I'm like, why? AR glasses are just so much more convenient to do these tasks.
Yeah.
You don't have to use a VR headset in public spaces. I mean, again, they're not the most attractive looking yet, but at least you have some view of what if someone's trying to get your attention, or you're running late to a flight, and it's just I don't know why you'd want to use a headset on the plane when you've got glasses. Why? It works.
Headsets these days don't work very well on planes. I mean, the old Oculus Go worked very well because it wasn't sensitive to cabin motion. But I can tell you, Quest 2 is not a happy companion on most flights, and it's so big. You have to kind of get out of your seat, unload it from your bag, or remember to store it near your feet, and that's taking most of your foot space. So
and the barrier to entry.
That's another reason. This is just plug and play. So when you were talking about barrier to entry, I'm this is actually really good for that because it's just plug and play. I mean, maybe there might be one or two steps after, depending on how you want to view the display. Oh no, sorry, you have options. But no, it's super easy, and that's what I think. Coming from VR, going into AR, I was why isn't it just easier in VR? This is so stupid easy. Just
all right. So I'll put you on the spot here, Adam. Given this is a review after all, at that price of $439 or whatever it is now, should people buy it? What are your thoughts?
I would say if you've been looking at getting AR glasses and you do travel a lot and you maybe you are looking for a solution to be able to work on the go, then yes. Otherwise, unless you're and if you're a big movie buff, otherwise there's not too much else you're going to be able to do with it. Like if you're hoping to be able to play games with this thing, I mean, you can, but it's kind of like why I wouldn't spend, $440 just for the game factor. You would need to get these for a combination of reasons. And, obviously if you're looking to use these outside for some reason, probably there might be, AR glasses that have higher nits that can do that, but I don't think these are it. Unless you wear the light blockers, which would probably be pretty dangerous outside, to be honest.
Sitting apart what's going on around you. It's the equivalent of having a VR headset on in a park, isn't it?
Well, I mean, at least you do have kind of the back peripherals, but yeah, you can't see like straight ahead. So you have to hope that the person coming at you is like coming from this angle or like, the back. But so I think we're getting closer to like, I would get it for this price, not for $600. I get maybe if that makes sense. I don't know. I was so skeptical of these. I was like, oh man, I hope I don't have to do like a really bad review. Cause again, as a disclaimer, I did get sent these for free. And so I was like, oh man, it may not go well, but I'm pleasantly surprised. I'm very pleased. And last thing too is the audio quality was actually not bad. Kind of comparable to the Quest, but maybe a little better because they're actually closer to your ears versus kind of like floating over your head a little bit. But
it's soundbar audio then? Just coming out of a couple of holes.
There's like two little where is it? Two little notches. I don't know if you can even see them on the bottom on the bands on each side, so we can get surround. But yeah, I'll also anything that I didn't go over today or any questions and stuff. I'm working on getting a video out that hopefully we'll get by next week.
Good question I saw in chat was if you're a glasses wearer, does this work? Can you do glasses on glasses?
They have diopter adjustments on the left and right eye, so you can individually it's blurry, it's super blurry, but yeah, there's knobs on both sides, so you can be able to adjust that for nearsighted people, and there's also like a manual IPD thing in the app itself, but I found that the diopter the scroll adjusty wheels, very scientific terms here, did well enough. And I mean I don't use glasses, but I had my dad try these, and he was able to get them where he didn't need his glasses on to try them. I don't think a lot of AR glasses have that either, being able to manually adjust it like that.
It sounds like a pretty well-rounded product. As I said, it feels like we're just maybe a version or two away from me really wanting to pick one up and then using it, because I've got use cases for that. So very, very curious about it. Thank you for the review, Adam. Any other weird things about the device or strange uses that you found that you weren't expecting?
Not strange. Again, just I really wish the actual Rokid app itself had more experiences tailored to the glasses. Like I feel like that's where Nreal shines, because I was kind of looking at some of their stuff and I'm like, oh man, I wish Rokid had this. Like some of their like even being able to record your first person view. I think Nreal has something like that in their app. Just quality control for the apps and the games you can play, because I feel like there's a lot of potential there, but it's not there yet. It's very sparse and very low quality. But otherwise, yeah, for hardware itself, it's pretty good. I like it.
Okay, well, very good. I think I will go ahead and use that juncture. We obviously lost Jose there, middle of the podcast, so we'll go ahead and we'll skip releases for now. That's all right. If there's anything we need to roll over into the next show, I'm sure we can do that as well. If you'd like to get a jab in before the end of this boxing match, now's your time, champ. So go ahead and do that in chat if you want to get something off your chest. Otherwise, I'm going to guillotine this spicy sausage and reflect on our regular show times. This is the FReality Podcast, and we run fortnightly. It's a fortnightly show. That's every 2 weeks, every other Saturday on YouTube and Twitch. The live broadcast begins at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and 6 p.m. in the United Kingdom. For our audio listeners, they get to enjoy a 3-layer sponge cake of Spotify, SoundCloud, and a iTunes whipped cream on the top. As an ode to Death Stranding, which I've been enjoying in my PSVR 2 big screen display, I will remind you that likers get liked and comments get commented. So leave us some love and we'll return with warm, hearty hugs or titanium baseball bats of affection. Now, take a look at chat for me, and while that's happening, I am going to import the newest member of my family. For those of you who've managed through to this point, I'm going to show you off River. Oh, here we go. Hello. This is our little pup
Oh,
who's joining me for the show
Oh
today.
my god!
She's only
looks
4
a
and
lot
bit
like
weeks.
a dad.
Just I
Yes.
love the vacant stare of just like 1,000-yard.
The vacant stare.
Why am I here?
All right, say something for the podcast. Huh? No. All right.
Oh,
Well,
cute.
that's River. I thought I would give you a puppy as a consolation prize for those who managed to stick around. Sorry, Jose, you don't get any puppy.
That's just get having bad internet. That's it.
He'll get it another week. Anything here in chat before we finish
I
up?
think
Someone said, do they have a bone conduction version? Oh, that's a really good question. I just tried a friend of mine's bone conduction headset, and that's actually really neat because it saves your eardrums, right? You're able to just skip the route and go straight to the phones and all that. It was good. I was going to show another baby, Chris. Don't worry. No more babies in my family. All right. That looks good. Diopter only for short-sighted, so no use of glasses due to age. Okay. I didn't know that. That's good to know. Thank you, Vern. With that, that's the end of our show. Thanks for watching. We'll see you on another Looney Tunes episode next for FReality Podcast. Thanks, everybody. Have a great time.
Bye bye.